Okay, so Summer has informed me that we do have a quorum. It is 9 a.m. So at this time, I'd like to say good morning to OCFEC Board of Directors, staff, and members of the public who have taken the time to join us today for the January 28th OC Fair Board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. All matters noticed on this agenda in any category may be considered for action as listed. Any item not so noticed may not be considered. Items listed on this agenda may be considered in any order at the discretion of the chairperson. The mission of the Orange County Fair and Event Center is celebration of Orange County's communities, interests, agriculture, and heritage, with results justifying resources expended. At this time, I would like to call Director Ruiz to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Yes, if you would all rise, please, and put your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States
of America,
and to the republic
which stands
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ruiz. Summer, can you please take roll call?
Sure. Chair Rubalcaba Garcia.
Here.
Vice Chair LaBelle.
Here.
Director Cervantes.
Here.
Director Ruiz.
Here.
Director Bonaris. Director Aiken.
Present.
Director Pham. And Director Kovacevic.
Thank you, Summer. At this time, the board will go into closed session. And while we are in closed session, Summer will be coordinating members of the public who wish to make public comment. Thank you.
Doug's here.
I'm back.
Summer, can you take a quick roll call just to make sure everybody made it back on?
No
Please.
problem.
Thank you.
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia.
Present.
Vice Chair LaBelle.
Here.
Director Cervantes.
Here.
Director Ruiz.
Present.
Director Aiken.
Present.
And Director Kovacevic.
Present.
Thank you.
Thanks, Summer. The district's board of directors received the advice of legal counsel on the pending litigation items included on the closed session portion of the agenda and has nothing further to report at this time. I'd like to move on to item number 6, CEO's operational announcements and updates. Michelle?
Thank you. We're very happy to report that the newly approved board governance policies have received a final proofing and formatting check and are now ready to be posted on our website, and that process will be completed by the end of this week. So you can look for all of those newly approved policies at ocfair.com. We've been reporting a lot recently about our amazing team of Angora goats who were hired to clear the Pacific Amphitheater berm of weeds. They've done a phenomenal job and even left some gifts behind that will help fertilize the soil on the berm. So we've had to furlough the goats until the spring since their work is done for now. And with the recent rains and the upcoming rains, the berm will no doubt be in need of weeding again in a few months, and we look forward to having them back. Just to give you an idea of how these guys have helped us on the berm, there's a before picture. Look at the weeds in the background, how tall they are. And here is a photo that we took yesterday. So they did an amazing job. The berm is cleared, it's beautiful, it's green. If you happen to drive by the fairgrounds, take a look and you'll see what a great job they've done. Last weekend, the International Association of Fairs and Expositions held its annual Institute of Fair Management Summit. The summit was originally planned to take place in Denver, but obviously it went virtual this year. I participated with 44 other fair industry professionals from all over the world. And our own COO, Ken Carnes, was one of the industry expert course facilitators. Classes were held in Carnival Midway, health and safety, that was Ken's course, financial management, commercial exhibits, and entertainment. This is a great example of continuing education offered by one of our major fair industry associations. And have you checked out the pig cam lately on our website? If you answered yes, then you know about the new litter of piglets born just a few weeks ago. They are active, adorable, very colorful, and so fun to watch. All of our animals at Centennial Farm miss their human visitors, but we hope to welcome people back very soon to the farm. I'd like to now turn it over to Joan Hamill for a few additional updates. Joan?
Good morning and Happy New Year. I'm going to start the report with WFA Achievement Awards. Western Fairs Association, or WFA, is an industry organization of which the fair, OC Fair, is a member. Annually, they present the Achievement Awards program. In this program, we and other fairs submit entries in a variety of categories. The Achievement Awards program was created to uplift all of the great things the fair is doing and to share good ideas across the board. It's also a competitive program, so the entries are judged and winners are announced at the annual convention in January. The WFA convention took place virtually the first week of January, just a couple of weeks ago. And we entered in several categories and we did quite well, as you can see. We received 6 first place awards and 2 second place awards. A couple of things to highlight is that in addition to receiving first place awards for our virtual fair and our community outreach program, we were also recognized above and beyond with a very special judges award for each of those categories. So we're very proud of that. Thank the Achievement Awards for recognizing those programs. Additionally, our community outreach entry was also nominated for the Merrill Award. And the Merrill Award is the highest award given for entries that clearly demonstrate innovation, vision, and excellence. The community outreach entry that we submitted highlighted the events held on the fairgrounds that were combined efforts of fair and partner-sponsored events that benefited the community, which included the emergency food distribution, COVID testing, produce donations from Centennial Farm, along with several other programs that benefited our community. Several staff and departments were involved in putting together the Achievement Awards, pulling together and organizing the entries, writing the entries, submitting them. It's a fairly involved process, and even more so as staff were and still are working remotely. But staff's efforts are sincerely appreciated. They always do such a wonderful job in putting together the entries, and more than well worth the effort, as indicated by the recognition and the awards that were received. While we did not take home the coveted Merrill Award, I would like to mention that OC Fair has won a total of 5 Merrill Awards over the years. So great program, and congratulations to staff and OC Fair. Moving on. The next slide there, Imaginology. Well, sadly, last year we were unable to host Imaginology, but I'm delighted to announce that it's making its return in 2021. This year, Imaginology will be virtual with STEAM-related fun for students, parents, and teachers, and will run from April 19th through the 25th, and will be featured on social media and highlighted on ocfair.com. Imaginology is still free and open to all. The activities will include a scavenger hunt, educational games, videos, and more. There will be an esports component featuring esports college and career pathways that will host tournaments, expert panels, and giveaways. We're also partnering with the OC Marathon to create a special fun run experience tailored specifically to Imaginology. And of course, a big component of Imaginology is the entry program for students. Students pre-K through 12th grade are eligible to submit their entries in virtual competition categories such as digital art, fine art, photography, collage, 3D creations, and many, many more. All of the student entry categories, rules, and regulations are online now. And the deadline to enter is March 19th. A full schedule will be coming out in March as well. Next slide. And later on in the agenda, item 10I will be the presentation of the 2021 fair planning. But right now, I want to take a couple of minutes to present the 2021 OC Fair theme. First, as you see here, I wanted to remind everyone of last year's theme, which you can see here, all for fun. And the artwork is beautiful. And everyone really loved it when it was first created. And this was part of a 3-year rollout campaign. Our highly creative marketing and creative services department is retooling this wonderful theme. And we've updated it, and it's perfect for 2021. And the next slide will show you is what we have to look forward to in 2021. The time for fun will be the theme for 2021, and aren't we all ready for that? And the fair will be bringing it back and welcoming our community at the fair in 2021. So look for more information on the agenda about that 2021 planning, but we're all ready to get back to fun. Upcoming in February, from February 5th to 14th is the highly anticipated Jurassic Quest drive-through. This is an experience that features over 70 lifelike animatronic dinosaurs presented in realistic settings. Guests enjoy the show, which lasts about an hour from their vehicle, and are guided through by engaging and informative digital audio. For more information and details on available dates, times, and pricing can be found on our website or at jurassicquest.com. Tickets start at $49 per vehicle. And upcoming on February 15th is we will be recognizing and celebrating the 4th anniversary of Heroes Hall. It's hard to believe that it's been just 4 years. Seen here are pictures of that wonderful opening day back in 2017. Students, veterans, the community, board member and staff came together to launch this very special museum and education center housed in an original 1942 era Santa Ana Army Air Base original cadets barracks. Of course, modified and updated to house museum quality exhibits that have been presented over the last 4 years. When Heroes Hall opened on that day, it was the 75th anniversary of the opening of the Santa Ana Air Base, and which are now the grounds of the OC Fair and Event Center. The exterior, I'll go on just for a little bit. The exterior exhibits of Heroes Hall, the Courtyard Walk of Honor, Medal of Honor, A4M Skyhawk, along with Centennial Farm has been closed, but we're looking forward to reopening, hopefully very soon in a limited capacity with advanced reservations. We had taken a hiatus over the holidays and we've remained closed over a period of time. So we're looking forward to the day when we can reopen to the public with all the health and safety protocols in place. COVID testing through the county and 360 clinic is ongoing Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. by appointment only. And don't forget, the Centennial Farmers Market takes place every Thursday from 9 to 1 p.m. And that concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Very good, Joan. Thank you. I'll move on to our financial report for the 12 months ended December 31st. And these are preliminary results as we're wrapping up our year-end work in finance. But we are reporting preliminary year-end, we're reporting based on preliminary results, our year-end expenses against revenue for the year 2020, resulting in a net deficit of 16.5 million. You may remember that our first reforecast back in May projected a net deficit of 18 to 20 million. So we've been able to close that gap quite a bit by generating revenue from events like Night of Lights, Flying Miss Daisy Vintage Market, the weekly Farmers Market, Autosonic concerts, and our own Fair Food drive-through, to name a few. And of course, by cutting costs. Our cash and cash equivalents, we're reporting preliminary year-end cash and cash equivalents of 41.4 million and $3 million. And then, by the way, that's a $3 million improvement over our original reforecast of a year-end cash balance of 38 million. So again, I want to thank the staff for all their diligent work in driving revenue and also cutting costs. All in all, I think everyone can join me in saying that we will be very happy to close the books on 2020 and move forward with positive expectations for 2021. And that completes my CEO update.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Joan, for your wonderful presentations, and congratulations to the staff and everybody here at OC Fair and Events for all of those wonderful recognitions. Can I get somebody to approve, make a motion to approve the minutes from December, please?
So moved.
Ashley, I so move.
Second.
We have Robert making the motion and Ashley with the second.
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia,
I will abstain. I was not at the December meeting.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes, Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Now moving on to agenda item number 8, matters of public comment. Public comment is allowed on issues not on the current agenda. However, no debate by the board shall be permitted on such public comments, and no action will be taken on such public comment items at this time. As law requires formal public notice prior to any action on a docket item. Speakers are requested to sign in prior to the start of the meeting and are limited to 3 minutes. Comments will be accepted on agenda items during the meeting. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda are requested to sign in prior to the start of the meeting and identify the agenda items on which you desire to address the board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And I believe we have 6 members of the public who would like to comment.
That is correct. I'll call the first 3. Wendy Lisi, Cindy Macero, followed by Jerry Lynn. Wendy, when you're ready.
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Chairwoman Rubalcaba Garcia and members of the Fair Board. I love the pictures of the goats. You know, Costa Mesa is or was Goat Hill. Love the pictures of the pigs. My kids always enjoyed that, and we missed it. We're looking forward to the fair this year. Have you ever thought about the instructive and fascinating history of the dirt underneath the Fair Administration Building and the more than 1,000 acres that used to be the Santa Ana Air Base? Have you ever visited the small Costa Mesa Historical Society on Anaheim Street, where there are several mannequins dressed in the Army uniforms representing the thousands who trained at the base starting in 1941? Well, we weren't there then, but as Americans, we know Americans were united in our efforts to stop Nazism and Hitler from taking Europe and murdering Jews. I love going to the Heroes Hall and read the stories of our veterans who fought for freedom. And my youngest daughter and her husband serve proudly today as Marines. United. The flag of the United States united us in a very perilous venture, but we won, united as Americans protecting freedom for all. Democrats, Republicans, Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanics, our differences didn't matter. Fast forward to 2009, current Mayor Katrina Foley and I were on the City Council and heard about the Fair Board wanting to sell the fairgrounds. We looked at each other. What? Together, we united to stop the sale. Twice we went to Sacramento with then Mayor Alan Mansour to talk to the state officials and Governor Schwarzenegger to tell them that the city and OC residents were vehemently opposed to the sale. Why? Because the city would lose a lot of control of what could be built on this very soil. Former Mayor Sandy Guinness and many equestrians and others who love the fair, we all united in our campaign to save the fair. United. Democrats, Republicans, NPP, united in a cause. We won. The fair is still there and it won't be developed into other things. It is for just 2 of those historical reasons that I ask you today humbly to create a brand new resolution to be placed on your next agenda to support the flying of the American flag, the California flag, and the fair flag on the fair's flagpoles. Lots of F's. United. Yes, please be leaders who unite us in a time in America when we need to be united. Be leaders who stand for what is fair at the fair. Fly the American, California, and fair flags. Keep it simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Cindy Massaro, when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Orange County Board of Directors, I want to thank the Orange County Fair Board and the Community Affairs Committee for taking up the issue of the flags that are represented at the Orange County Fairgrounds. I'm very grateful that you put together and sent out the survey to the local fairgrounds neighbors to get a fair and impartial response to your survey. I'm also very pleased to see the response that you had. 698 total people participating in it was especially impressive because there was such a short window to respond. To have that kind of response in 48 hours shows that people care about this issue and have an opinion on it. Not only was the response number impressive, but the answers given were also impressive. Overwhelmingly, the answer to the survey was clear. The people surveyed from the Orange County Fair neighbors said, keep displaying the American, California State, and Orange County Fair and Event Center flags, but remove the pride flag to avoid singling out or leaving out groups in Orange County. This was 42% of the surveyed response. The next closest responses were only 15, 18, and 19%. 42% said keep displaying the American, California State, and Orange County Fair and Event Center flags, but remove the pride flag to avoid singling out or leaving out groups in Orange County, more than double all the other responses. You have asked the public for their opinion. The public has answered you. They have told you to take down the pride flag and to fly only the American flag, State of California flag, and Orange County Fair flag. It is time now for you to take action on this. Please put on the agenda at your February meeting and vote to represent the people you serve. They have told you to remove the pride flag so as to not give preferential treatment over others and treat the entire community equally and fairly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Jerry Lynn, when you're ready.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking this time to have our general comments, and just thank you for what you are doing at the fairgrounds. I like hearing all about what's going on, and I do appreciate having the animals and the goats. Can't wait to get back to see that. So I would just like to say I am on the same page with Cindy and Wendy. I just love the history about what she talked about with the Costa Mesa, the fairgrounds, and what's transpired here. And I think what I really want to say this morning, and I've been asking for several months, is let's just have flags flying that unite us. And I can't concur more that the American flag is something that that represents us all. We all live in the United States, and during these times of turmoil, we have to just like come together as one people group, Americans. And so I just want to keep asking that you would please put this on the agenda. Let's have a discussion and let's make a decision. I do concur with what Cindy said. You put the survey out, although I don't think we've discussed those results, and I think we should discuss those results. What I could see online, it was overwhelming that people support the American flag, the California flag, and the fairgrounds flag, which represents us all. So I humbly ask as well, please put this on your agenda so that we could bring this to a conclusion, have a discussion, and make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry Lynn. Carla Montgomery, when you're ready.
Good morning. am so honored to live in our city of Costa Mesa. My daughter, we've lived in this city since 2003. And in 2012, my daughter was the first Miss Teen Costa Mesa. And we had the honor as a family to come and serve Costa Mesa and just had a year of our lifetime. It was just such a pleasure to go along the SOS that we have here, share ourselves, and it was just such an honor. So I love our city. It's just such a blessing to have the Seagrisham Hall, to have the fairgrounds. It's just a mecca of fun. And so yes, I also would like to talk about our flag at the fairgrounds. And I have done some studying. And some things I'd like to say first is that we just got a new president. And one of the big things that is important to him is unity. And so I would like to have this flag issue in our county, in our city, to become an issue of unity so that we can come together and say, we're going back to the basics. We want to go back to just being Americans and Californians who enjoy our fair. So I think it's just a perfect opportunity for us to alleviate some of the hurt and pain that's been going on in our country over the last 4 years. So some statistics I have here is that California, the population of California is 39,613,500 people. According to the Movement Advancement Project, the population of the LGBTQ population in California, 18 and older, is 5.3%. In Orange County, our population is 3,175,130 and 130 population. I've been getting my statistics from the World Population Review, and I looked at family values, how we as a state voted or what we think, and we are 63% wanting family values. And then the other is 9% would like to have anything other but family values. And then we also have a 27% that is just unaffiliated. And then I look at our flash vote that you guys so generously took, and I see that 41.5% of the people that did that survey said.
Carla, that is time.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call the next three speakers. We have Todd Martin, followed by Kelly Avakian, and then Janine Robbins. Todd, when you're ready.
Hello, good morning, and thank you, council members, for your time and your service. Really appreciate it, and it's obvious that you guys do care very much about our community. And you guys probably don't know me as well. I haven't been as active here lately until the last month or so, and I've been a resident here in Costa Mesa my entire life. I was born over on the east side, and now my wife and I are been camped out here for, gosh, like what, 25 years or something like that. In our place. But anyways, I was on the call a couple days ago, and there was back and forth, the people support of the flag that's up there, the pride flag, etc., and those who wanted to just be the American flag, etc. And I noticed that the pride flag supporters made it all about their flag and what its purpose was. And I've looked at this, I never thought it was about a specific flag. It was just about being fair. Which makes sense to me. It's like, if we have one special interest group that's allowed to fly their flag, why is it fair that no one else gets to fly theirs? And I understand where they're coming from. They have a great deal of passion for their cause, and I do as well. I represent a people group that is worldwide, that is persecuted exponentially more than the pride community. And I would love to see flags up there that represent that, a people group that is being absolutely crushed around the world. So I understand where they're coming from. I have nothing against them personally, but I just think it would be far more fair to allow other people to put their flags up there. And if that becomes something that is just too difficult to do logistically, then maybe we go back and we look at that survey, and the survey makes it very clear what the will of the people is. And I still believe we're a democracy where it's the majority makes the decisions. And if that's the case, then we go back to the original, which is putting up the flags that represent everyone. So I just think it's a matter of unity. That's been brought up here before, and I totally agree. Anyone can look around and see what's happening in our country right now, and there is a huge lack of unity. And to pay special attention to one group at the expense of others just makes that division even greater, which is just bad news for our country and for relationships in general. We need people to pull together, and it needs to be fair. That's all it is. It just needs to be fair. So I would ask that you guys would, just hear us. We are passionate about this. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to push forward with freedom, with fairness, etc. So please, please, please consider putting this up on the agenda and doing something about it. So thank you very much. I appreciate your guys' help, and that'd be it.
Thank you, Todd. Kelly Avakian, when you're ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you again for taking that diversity survey. And I totally appreciate all the response and how quickly, 48 hours, you got so many people to vote. And the survey shows that 41.5% of all of those surveys really do only want to fly the California flag, the USA flag, and the Orange County Fair flag, and getting back to the basics of all of us, everybody. I do appreciate all of those that did speak out in favor of the pride flag, and even wanting to add yet another pride flag that's pink and purple, and the other pride flag that has the black and brown stripes in it, and all of their emotions behind it. But I too am beginning to feel marginalized, that no one's allowed to speak of solutions, or that the board hasn't found solutions to the flag issue, so that no one feels not included, because we're asking for everybody to feel included and asked to be put on the agenda. But again, let's just take all feeling out of all of it and get back to the basics of what that survey showed, that 41% of all of those polled do want only the California flag flown, only the USA flag, and the Orange County flag. So we have to go back to the statistics that shows that 63% want the values, family values, and out of the 39 million of the California population, only 5.3% of the population is LGBT. And so I want to take all the emotions out of it, because when you start flying up all the other flags, the pink and purple flag, the brown stripe flags, it goes to proposing more flags, more flagpoles. Now we have to have committees and application of whose flags get chosen. We have to hire the staff to accommodate all of these entries, who's going through the entries for all these diverse groups and special interest groups. So I just would like to get back to the basics and back to the survey that shows that the population, 41%, want only the California flag, the USA flag, and the Orange County flag flown, based upon your survey and based upon the population that is being represented in Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Janine Robbins, when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Janine Robbins, and most of you know me as a long-term vendor at the swap meet with my husband, Mike, and at the fair. I feel very qualified to speak on a couple different topics that were raised this morning. First of all, as far as Wendy Lease goes, when you talk about stopping the sale of the fairgrounds, the ones who funded the stop the sale of the fairgrounds was the Teller family, the operator at that time of the Orange County Marketplace. They were assisted by Reggie Mundicus, as well as swap meet vendors led by my husband, Mike. So as far as the city of Costa Mesa stepping in and doing anything, They didn't do anything. Okay, now the second thing, let's talk about this pride flag. First of all, people are implying that the fairgrounds is talking about taking down the American flag, the California flag, and the fairgrounds flag, and that is simply not true. We fully support the pride flag. As somebody who has spent probably hundreds of thousands of hours on that property over the last 40 years, I can attest to the way that gay people have been treated on that property during different events, and it is not good. As far as uniting us, flying the pride flag is a unification. It does show that we support everybody on that property. It is not a special interest, as some people are saying. It is a group of people who have been marginalized and in some places can actually be killed for being gay. We need to step up and show them that everybody is welcome. And as far as family values go, I'm not quite sure what that speaker was talking about. Is she talking about the single families with the single parents, whether it be a mother or father? Is she talking about the kids being raised by grandparents? What is she talking about family values? This is 2021. And the gay population needs to know that they are accepted, and flying the pride flag is not a special interest flag. It is not the Boy Scout flag or the Little League flag or things like that. So it's so insulting to hear some of these things that people are saying. We support the flying of the pride flag. We need to reach out to this group of people who have been targeted and marginalized over history. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I'm so sorry. Chair Rubalcaba Garcia, we have one more person that would like to speak. Pat Davis, when you're ready.
That was fast. Thank you. I wasn't sure how long the queue was. Good morning, Pat Davis. I thought I was coming to listen to different topics, but I did attend the meeting last week, and I'm hearing a collection of folks here who continue to talk about the Pride community as other. And part of that speaking is rather disturbing as a 70-year-old woman who has been in so many so-called other populations. I have to ask you in the room, as who really does count? And when you describe a population as a special interest, I'm just baffled that one doesn't discern what's a special interest group and what is a population. Family values, again, whose family values? And the taking the feelings out, that would be delightful. But that would also mean that one would have to educate themselves to understand more clearly who in fact we're talking about. And chances are it's many of your own family members. I think the survey sample that you're excited about is rather sketchy. Several had asked to fill in, and we got nice responses that we could in fact still give input. But I'm just concerned who we're talking about when we're so self-righteous in wanting to defend other, who is other, and whose feelings, thoughts, and existence actually counts. And many of you sound as though you're narrowing who that might be, sadly so. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Pat. Chair Rubalcaba Garcia, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Summer, and thank you to our public commenters. On to agenda item number 9, consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are operational matters about which the board has governing policies, implementation of which is delegated to the CEO. They will be enacted one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board of directors votes on the motion, unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed separately and or removed from this section. Any member of the public who wishes to discuss consent calendar items should notify the chair of the board and the time requested and be recognized by invitation of the chair to address the board. Do we have any items that need to be pulled from the consent calendar?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia, we do. Staff would like to pull 9A under standard agreements. It's agreement number SA 00621SM. This contract is for the apparent winning bidder of a competitive RFP process. It's for sound monitoring and mitigation. That bid award is under protest right now. The Department of General Services in Sacramento has not yet rendered a decision on that. So we are pulling that and we'll bring it back at such time that there is a decision.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And I believe we have one public comment on this agenda item.
We do. Reggie Mendicus, when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Reggie Mundicus, and thank you for this opportunity to address you this morning. I am speaking regarding, excuse me, we're just doing the contracts at this point?
Correct.
Okay, I'm withdrawing my comment then because it's still under bid protest. Sorry about that.
Perfect. Thanks, Reggie. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I so move. This is Sandra.
Second, Doug.
Thank you. Summer, can you please take roll call?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now moving on to agenda item number 10, which is the governance process. All committees will have some report, but I do want to just remind some board members, if there is an agenda item related to your committee report, if you can just hold off on reporting in detail on that until the agenda item comes up, because there are quite a few of those. We'll go ahead and go over to the leadership committee. That's Doug LaBelle and myself. Director LaBelle, would you like to add anything to that?
No, at this time, we have the item later on the agenda.
Perfect, thank you.
Nothing.
And just to brief the board on this, so the leadership committee did meet with CEO Richards, and we will have a full report related to the Equestrian Center, and we'll have a full discussion on that item. Moving on to financial monitoring and audit report.
I can do that on behalf of the committee since Director Pham and Director Bonaris are not available today. We met as a committee on the 22nd. We went over the financial information that I reported out earlier, and there are 3 other items that we discussed: the 2019 audit, the proposed ticket admission pricing for the 2021 OC Fair, and then the write-off of some past due amounts. All 3 of those are on the agenda for later.
Perfect, thank you, Michelle. Facilities Committee, Director Aiken and Director Ruiz.
Hi, thank you. We also have an agenda item later on in the meeting, and then we have a staff report presented attached to the agenda that just goes over our capital projects and some of the projects that are going on the property. So unless the board has any questions for Director Ruiz, myself, or Mr. Carnes, we can just wait to our other item.
Perfect, thank you. Governance is next, and that committee is made up of Director Cervantes and myself. Director Cervantes, do you have anything you'd like to report on that at this time?
No, not at this time. I will go ahead and defer to Michelle.
Perfect, thank you. And I'd just like to add to this. So Director Cervantes and I did meet with CEO Richards on January 22nd, and we received an update on the status of the new governance policy manuals. The manuals are being assembled now and will be shipped to each board member the week of January 25th and posted on the website by the end of the month. So if you have any board members, any questions on that, please let us know. The committee also discussed recommendation to suspend use of legislative representation, but we will talk about that in more detail. It is an agenda item today. So that's all I have to report at this time. And moving on to Community Affairs Committee.
Oh, yes. Hi, Chair. Good morning, everyone. As you all have heard with some of the comments, we put out a survey. Again, you know, a lot of people participated in it, which was great. We put out the survey online, and of course, we shared it with the other board of directors. And we had a meeting on the 20th, I believe, and we had great participation as well. And so we heard a lot of great comments from different people. And of course, the survey, some people address, you know, that we should have more different types of concessionaires that represent Orange County here at our fair. Some of the comments were like, we should make our board more diversified, which I don't think you can get any more diversified than we are already. We had many other great topics and comments that the people who answered the survey. So Director Kovacevic and I we took into consideration all the comments, and we're gonna hopefully work together moving forward and see what kind of an agenda we can put together moving forward and answer all the questions that were brought up here before us. And like I said, you know, everyone should have already a copy of it. It's online for people to view. I just want to thank everybody who participated in it. I want to thank everybody who came to the meeting and participated on Zoom on the 20th, which was great. We had almost 100 people that day. We had speakers that were lined up. I think we had like 40 to 50 speakers, which was great. And it's always good to hear from everyone. Again, we can't please everybody. I would like to do that, but it's just, we just can't do that. So having said that, again, the survey's online. The other directors have it. If anybody, you know, wants to call us and ask us questions regarding that, by all means, we would love to answer them. And my email is out there, so you guys can email me and let me know what you think. Director Kovacevic, unless you have something else to add to this.
No, thank you, Director Rees. I do want to make a few comments. So first of all, echo the appreciation of the participation. We're glad that we were able to get in front of the public in multiple ways. There were some people citing the survey. As Director Rees said, the survey results are all available online. However, I will note the survey was one of a few ways that we went out to gather public opinion. We did so via the meeting, and again, strong attendance, which was great. Thank you guys. Also via email, and we've shared all of this data with our fellow constituents here on the board. Again, it's been maybe I would say misreported that there was going to be a vote on flags. There's been no vote proposed, so just want to make that clear again. And also, I think in hearing the comments, there might be some misconception about what flags are currently flying. I just want to clarify, and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't drive by the fair today, but I believe we are flying the United States flag, the state of California flag, the Orange County flag, and the Pride flag. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's not the county flag, but it's the Orange County Fair and Event Center flag. Right?
Yep, our flag for the OC Fair and Event Center. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Great. So hopefully that clarifies any confusion that all of those flags are currently flying, and there are currently no plans to change that. Although we have gathered data, and of course, if the board decided to put something up for vote, the public would be made aware of it. So I just want to say that we've heard the public in these various forms and fashions. And I think at this point, the board is well aware of where the public stands on these matters. We have a lot of things that we want to accomplish with the Community Affairs Committee. I know there was public comment regarding, feeling included in the community. It would be nice if putting up a flag or taking down a flag would make everybody in the community feel very good about everything. I have a feeling that there's probably other things that the committee can do to make people feel good and included. That's what we're interested in doing at the committee. We did seek feedback on it. So just want to give everybody the full picture of what we're doing. But we do appreciate everyone's insight. We are well aware of sort of the dynamics here. And just stay tuned. I don't think, we want to let this consume the committee because like I said, there are other important things that we need to be looking at. So thank you guys, appreciate it. And hopefully, as Director Ruiz said, we can do our best to serve the community. I don't think we can ever make everyone happy, but we certainly will try. So thank you for putting your trust in us. And that's all I have to say on this matter.
Thank you, Director Kovacevic, and thank you, Director Ruiz, and that's well said. So, I'm pretty sure the majority of the members of the public were here when we reorganized many of our committees and formed this Community Affairs Committee to specifically work directly with the community to make sure and ensure that the fairgrounds is, serving the Orange County community at large. So well said, and thank you for just reinforcing the mission and objective of that committee. And I believe we have Centennial Farm. Do we have a Centennial Farm report?
We don't. Director Cervantes, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but I do know that I think that Joan was present, so maybe she can go ahead and update us.
Director Cervantes, the Centennial Farm Foundation didn't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now the
Heroes Hall.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Heroes Hall. My apologies. So no, nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. And then Heroes Hall Veterans Foundation. We have liaison director or Vice Chair LaBelle and Director Cervantes.
I have nothing to report since I wasn't present.
Thank you. And I believe we have 5 public comments on these reports. Summer, can you please?
We do. It's going to be Reggie Mundicus, followed by Wendy Lisi, Cindy Massaro, Geraldine, and Kelly Avakian. Reggie, when you're ready.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to thank the Facilities Committee for their work on the Equestrian Center Stormwater Project. This is a major improvement in the handling of stormwater at our facility, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'd also like to thank them for allowing California Construction Authority to manage the paving rehabilitation project for this year. That will get us more bang for our buck by allowing the projects to be coordinated and perhaps get better pricing on those contracts. So thank you for your work on that. Regarding community affairs, thank you for the very good meeting. It was a lively and spirited meeting, and thank you for your attention to this matter. So I'd like to suggest that we can move past the rainbow flag issue by focusing on business opportunities at the OC Fairgrounds for OC businesses. I'd just like to throw out a couple of statistics. If you need more information, I can get you more information on this. In 2019, at the OC Fair, over 95% of the food and beverage selling space was given to companies outside of Orange County. About 70% of the selling space for the same fair for merchandise was given to companies outside of Orange County. We need to do better by Orange County businesses. And this is not going to be an overnight change. We need to find ways of actually allowing Orange County businesses to actually sell at the Orange County Fair. This is perhaps one of the largest annual events in our community, and we need to allow our Orange County business community to participate in selling at one of the largest events in the county. So I'm just going to leave it with that thought, and we can discuss this in greater detail going forward. So thanks again for your good work on these committees.
Thank you, Reggie. Wendy Lisi, when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. I want to commend Director Ruiz and Kovacevic for a very informative meeting, trying to keep the focus on inclusivity and diversity. And as a almost a 50-year resident of Costa Mesa and mother of 5, the fair evokes many great memories for me and my family. But also over the years, I volunteered to work in the miniature Noah's Ark, where I told Bible stories, usually about Noah and the flood, to the little kids while their parents had a little break from the fair fun. Also, I volunteered in the pro-life booth, giving helpful information about Orange County crisis pregnancy centers. And I also volunteered at the Republican table. However, over the years, there was sometimes pushback from fair officials about where the Ark should be. And one time we got pushed in this really different place that kind of kept the kids from coming into the Ark. And recently, last year before COVID, I was told the Ark would not be given permission to be at the fair. Similarly, with the pro-life table, once I had to be with the others on the sidewalk outside at the fair entrance, and we were not permitted inside. So I'm very happy that the board is finally wanting to have policies to be inclusive and diverse in its approval of all groups wanting to be part of the fair. Now, if you want to fly the flags, yes, you'll have to create some kind of an approval process and form a subcommittee, create an application form, and you'll have to write new regulations. Maybe you're going to have to put up more flagpoles. You could do a cost benefit study, but that process and all of that would divert you from the important business of planning and running the fair, which again unites us, rich and poor, young and old, red and yellow, black and white, in a great time of food, fun, and recreation under our beautiful Costa Mesa sky. Keep it simple. Please just fly the 3 flags and let us all pay to use the booths and venues inside the fair to represent diversity and inclusion. When the previous board approved the flying of just 1 flag, we were busy with our lives and unaware that the board had approved just flying 1 flag in addition to the other 3. The rainbow flag has been flying for some time, and that's fine. But many of us and those who completed your survey agree it's time to unite behind just the 3 flags. So I hope that you will put it on the committee. Community Affairs Committee will have the courage to put it on for a vote and have a new resolution and keep it simple. Thank you for hearing me today.
Thank you, Wendy. Cindy Macero, when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Those of us who have been coming to you month after month for 8 months now are seeking unity, not dividing ourselves into population groups, as some of the speakers have suggested. It is not equality to highlight one group and not other groups. Let's use data, not emotion. The data has been prepared and delivered to you in the form of the survey. I would like to read some of the comments shared by the participants that you have surveyed. This is coming from a member of the LGBTQ community. Rotate the pride flag with other flags, even though I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. How about we all celebrate being American instead of subgrouping people, which is the real bigotry? Please keep politics out of the fairgrounds. Stop with this diversity. I will not attend. As a BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, People of Color, this is their quote. As a BIPOC, this pandering is disgusting. I'm so sick and tired of this BS. I am not oppressed. Promote that we are all Americans. We know OC is diverse, but singling out each group to me and my family is discriminatory to many. We are all Americans first. If you placate to the never-ending subgroups, there will be no end. The country is made up of everyone, not segregating groups is necessary. You can't appease them all, just stay neutral. We all are USA and California residents. No permanent diversity-specific celebrations. Too many to recognize permanently, someone will be slighted. Whatever you do must be for all people, not just singling out one group as you have done with the pride flag. We are one people gathered around the American flag. Stand up for America. By singling out groups, you are contributing to diversity and not unity. I think we should only fly the flags that represent the state, this country, period. To fly flags that represent any groups or organizations that aren't related to these will only open up a can of worms. Because of this group or that group is going to want their flags flown also, and say that you are discriminating against them if you don't. Take all of the other flags down and represent this state and this country only. And it continues on with similar comments from so many people. You have heard from 42% of the people on this survey. Please, if you move forward, please represent all of us, uniting us, not dividing us into subgroups. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Jerry Lynn, when you're ready.
Thank you. So again, I'll just state thank you so much for the diversity group, and understanding diversity, that means more than just one group, right? So we want to represent all. And I think the American flag does that really well. But if we choose to just keep one other flag that's a special interest flag, then I suggest that we consider diversity, which means let's rotate in other flags. Let's allow other people to have a voice for what they're passionate about as well. So that's just my perspective, that diversity means more than just one particular flag. And I hope you guys really seek to figure out, something that represents everybody and not just one particular group. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Avakian, when you're ready. Kelly, are you with us? Okay, I'm going to move on. We do have one more speaker, Gibran Stout, when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't going to speak on this topic, but after hearing everybody talk and hearing Reggie talk, I'm not super concerned about the flags. I know there's a lot of passion about that. What I am concerned about is hearing the statistics that we send so much money and so much business to businesses outside of our county, as well as outside of our state. And that concerns me. I agree. And I think that we need to have more diversity. We need to have more inclusion. We need to really capitalize on the great diversity and businesses that we have in Orange County. And especially after this last year, economically, we're all struggling, and we really need to have the fair represent Orange County and really showcase and highlight Orange County businesses and really feed our economy. So that's really all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gibran. Todd Martin, when you're ready.
Hello, thanks again, and I'll try to make this quick because I know there's a lot going on. I'm weighing in about the flag again. Sorry about that. But one thing I have noticed, and I just want to bring this to the council's attention because it's concerning to me, is that those who are opposed to having any other flags up there other than the pride flag have only brought up their details about what they're passionate about and or attacking those of us who want to have additional flags put up there. There's never any talk about fairness, which is concerning to me because that's the whole point here, in my opinion, is to be fair. We would like to fly other flags. I have flags I would like to put up there that represent people groups, thousands of which are in Orange County, about people who are persecuted exponentially more than the pride people around the world. And this is huge for me. And I know many other people in the same boat, but it's not about the details of the flags that I would like to fly. It's about being fair. And so please just pay attention to the people who are, attacking us in some respect, and about the fact that they're pointing out what they want, and not about being fair to all people, about equity. That's pretty much the main issue here, is just being fair and allowing us to fly a flag that we'd like to fly also. and not focusing on one specific people group and showing them preference over others. So anyways, I just want to bring that up because it seems to be a common thread that's happening here, and I think people just need to be awake to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. Chair Rubalcava Garcia, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you, Summer, and thank you to all of our speakers. Michelle, can I ask you a question? Can Orange County businesses apply to be concessionaires or vendors at the annual fair?
Yes, actually, any business can apply. Those applications are available on our website for any business that would like to be involved in the fair. We evaluate all of those applications against the same set of criteria. So yes, absolutely. If there are businesses that are interested, they should absolutely apply.
Is it possible to maybe cascade that messaging, sooner than later so that we can start getting the word out, if we're going to have a modified fair or even a larger fair, as we prepare for that, people can start to apply to potentially showcase their business at the fairgrounds?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great question, Chair Rubalcava Garcia. This is Director Kovacevic. Just wanted to ask another follow-up. Is there anything in the applications for these vendors that would give management insight in terms of some of the diversity issues that we're discussing around these vendors, like where they're from, what type of food that they're going to be providing, or even maybe the heritage or race or ethnicity of the owners of these booths or these businesses?
Nothing on the application regarding the ethnicity of the owners. I think that would be that would have some issues that would come with it, but certainly looking at the type of food that is offered, and there's quite a good variety of different ethnic food at the fair currently as well. But yes, Director Kovacevic, there is information on the application about where the business is located, where maybe their experience with handling the large volume of service that's required at the fair. You can imagine that the fair is a lot different from, say, a taste of event or a street fair. It's quite demanding. So lots of information is taken on the applications, and everyone is evaluated against that same criteria.
Okay, great. And is there a way for us to give preferential treatment to local vendors?
I think that would be a decision that the board would have to make. We certainly don't we don't single out people who are outside of Orange County. In fact, the vast majority of our concessionaires are based in California. Some are from out of state, but the vast majority are from California. But there's not a there's not a criteria that someone has to be from Orange County or have to be from the local area.
Okay, great. That's very helpful color. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
This is Director LaBelle. I have some comments on this, but I'm going to hold those off until we have the discussion later in the agenda relative to the planning for the 2021 fair.
Okay, thank you, Director LaBelle. Any other comments or questions related to this agenda item?
Yeah, this is Director Ruiz, and I'm in agreement with what the chair said. If we can get something in place here so we can get the word out to the local Orange County businesses, how they can apply here to our fair, because a lot of our business here in Orange County were hit very hard due to this pandemic. And if there's any way we can help our own local business is out, that would be great. If we could bring some of them into the fair and help them, get back on their feet. I mean, what better way to do that than to have them, be a vendor at our fair? I know it might not be doable this year, but in the future, moving forward, if we could do that, because that was some of the suggestions that we got on that survey, was to have more vendors here from Orange County. And what better way to help some of those businesses get back on their feet by us, reaching out our hand to them and, hey, look, come and see, and if you could, qualify to be a vendor at our fair, and hopefully, get your business back up on your feet. That would be something I think we should really focus on and look into as we move forward.
Will do.
Thank you, Director Ruiz. And one other thing, Michelle, one of the public comments sparked a question. So we're a state agency, as many people know. So First Amendment issues, which would include anything related to religion, are there specific areas for political groups or First Amendment related freedom of expression type groups during the fair?
Yes, absolutely. Every year we create a freedom of expression area, and anyone can apply to be in that area. It's not required for it to be inside the fair or outside the fair. So each year we have to assess what kind of space is available. Also, the groups do not that exhibit in that area. They don't have permanent booths. They set up and they tear down every day. But yes, absolutely, we have a freedom of expression area for any number of topics.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other comments from the board related to this agenda item? Hearing that there are none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to agenda item 10B, which is review of 2019 audit and vote on whether or not to approve the 2019 audit. Michelle, do you want to go ahead and take this one since Director Bonaris and Director Pham are not present?
I will, absolutely. So I worked with the Finance and Audit Committee in their initial review of the 2019 financial audit. They reviewed the draft and made some recommendations, including a management discussion and analysis, an MD&A, to accompany the audit. Staff completed that. We sent that into the auditors, and they provided the final audit documents, which the board received, and those were posted for the public as well. So once the audit is voted on and hopefully approved by the board, we will file that with the California Department of Food and Agriculture.
Chair, this is Ashley Aiken. I'd make a motion to approve the 2019 audit.
I second. It's Sandra.
Thank you. And I believe we do not have any public comment related to this topic, right, Summer?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Can you go ahead and take roll call on this topic?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia?
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle?
Yes.
Director Cervantes?
Yes.
Director Ruiz?
Yes.
Director Aiken?
Yes.
And Director Kovacevic?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. And I also just have to say, this is impressive. We, when I first started on the board, we had a 2016, a 2017, and a 2018 audit that were outstanding. So the fact that our 2019 audit is already, ready for approval, I commend staff and the board members who were dedicated to that item. So thank you. Now moving on to agenda item number C, which is review and vote on whether or not to approve the write-off of past debt. So Michelle, can I turn this one over to you?
Yes, I will. This is kind of a housekeeping item. Government Code Section 13943.2 authorizes the Board of Directors to discharge uncollectible amounts of $500 or less once all means of collection have been exhausted. And so part of the CDFA accounting procedures manual requires that we bring that before the board. So on the staff report, the board received a list of the 5 past due amounts that we're looking to write off at this point. Staff has done a magnanimous job of trying to collect, and you can see that each of these amounts is under $500. So we're asking for the board's approval to write off those items.
Does the board have
So
any
moved.
questions on this item? And if not, if I can get a motion to approve?
So moved. This is Doug.
Second, Sandra.
Second.
With just a comment, I hope we didn't spend a lot of time going after the 50-cent one. That's the only comment I have.
Yeah, we thought that was you know, an easy one to write off.
And I clearly understand from past experiences why this is necessary and appropriate. So.
Thank you. Thank you for the motion from Director LaBelle and the second from Director Cervantes. Can we get a roll call, please, Summer?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10D. This is also an action item. I'm going to turn this one over to Director LaBelle for the introduction of and vote on whether or not to approve appointment of Thomas Clark to the Heroes Hall Veterans Foundation Board of Directors. Director LaBelle.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rubalcaba Garcia. We are pleased on behalf of the foundation, which considered this matter at its meeting on the 21st. Tom Clark, Captain Clark, I think the full board is very familiar with Mr. Clark. He was a Marine in Vietnam and had expressed an interest in being a member of the foundation. He obviously he's currently an attorney with Stradling, Yaka, Carlson and Roth, a partner in that firm. And in addition to his military background, would bring years of experience that I think would be very beneficial to the primary function of the foundation, which is to raise funds for the programming and projects at the Heroes Hall Veterans Museum on the Fair and Event Center site. I would like to ask Michelle if she would read the salutation of when he received the Distinguished Flying Cross. I think it's beneficial to those of our in attendance at the meeting to kind of understand the sacrifices he made to, as Nick Berardino has often said, freedom isn't free, and I think Mr. Clark's efforts to take that forward, I think, is certainly worthy of taking a minute or two to read that citation. If you would, Michelle, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I would be honored to, and I was honored to meet Tom Clark. The plaque at Heroes Hall reads as follows: "The President of the United States presents the Distinguished Flying Cross to Captain Thomas P. Clark, Jr. for heroism and extraordinary achievement while serving with Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 232 in the Republic of Vietnam. On August 17, 1969, Captain Clark, in the lead aircraft of a flight of 2 F-4 Phantom aircraft, was providing close air support for the helicopter resupply of a reconnaissance patrol engaged in combat with a hostile force after 2 other landing attempts by transport helicopters were aborted because of an overcast ceiling of 200 feet and extremely heavy volume of enemy automatic weapons fire. Captain Clark's flight executed repeated bombing runs and delivered all of its ordnance upon the target with pinpoint accuracy. As a result, the transport helicopter was able to land, discharged its supplies, and depart from the area. Captain Clark's courage, superior professionalism, and unwavering devotion to duty in the face of great personal danger were instrumental in the accomplishment of the hazardous mission and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service."
Thank you, Michelle. That would conclude my comments. Well, no specific action is required by the board. I think a motion to approve and support the foundation's action would be in order.
I so move then.
Can I get a second? Or I second. Summer, can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yeah.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you, Director LaBelle, and thank you, Summer. Moving on to agenda item 10E, which is an action item. This item I'm going to turn over to Director Ruiz for the discussion and vote on the Facilities Committee's recommendation on whether to update the enhanced worker safety policy.
Thank you,
Director Ruiz?
Madam Chair. Good morning to everyone again. As I had stated before last month, back in 2012, the 32nd BAA adopted an enhanced worker safety policy. This policy applies to all construction projects with all contract price in excess of $25,000. After that, we noticed we experienced the fact that we were having challenges in receiving bids from contractors due to the fact that they were having challenges themselves in meeting this criteria. So we decided to study the issue a bit further and try to, get ahead of the game and resolve this issue that was before us. So we studied the general framework of the skilled and trained workforce as a concept. We learned that the state of California had legislated such platform known as the Public Contract Code 2601 through 2603. We also learned that in its original legislative effort and due to almost identical challenges that we were having, the legislature shortly thereafter amended a framework that provided significant flexibility and maintained high standards. So in order for us to be consistent, since we are a state public entity, we wanted to be consistent with what the state of California has done. So with that, we feel by adopting this language that is here before us, Public Contract Code 2601 through 2603, is really going to help all contractors who come in and bid, regardless if they're union or non-union. Because after all, whenever we want someone to come in here and do work for us, we want the best skilled workers to come into our grounds and do work for us. Some of these contractors have problems meeting this criteria, and you really have to ask ourselves the question, do we really want to hire contractors who can bring in workers who are skilled and trained and who have graduated from a state certified apprenticeship program? I mean, if I'm going to do work at my house, I mean, I want somebody who's going to send me workers that are highly skilled, highly trained. If they're going to bring me somebody who they just picked up down the street and come to work in my house, they're not going to go work at my house. I'll tell you that right now. So this language here is going to work for everybody. I know some of the percentages were a little high before. So now with this public contract code, it's going to help out all the contractors, which yes, the percentage is at 60%. However, though, for some of the basic trades, like the laborers, the operators, cement masons, what have you, then it drops down to 30%. So that will help out those contractors as well. The 60% and 70% will still stay for the pipe trades, the electrical workers, and so on. So I really feel this language that was adopted by the state of California, it's really going to work for us. And so therefore, I move that we adopt the amendment to the enhanced worker safety policy, and hopefully moving forward, this will work for everybody that comes in and bids work here on our grounds.
I'd like to second
If
that
anybody-
motion. I was working with former director Nick Berardino to pass this policy in 2012, and the the main thrust of the policy was to make sure that as a state property, our projects are done by members of our local trade unions. And as the law changed, as the, we need to keep up with those policies. I think what's really important to emphasize here is that a lot of our very, very skilled members of our local trade unions didn't have apprenticeship programs when they started. So it wasn't that they did not go through them, it just wasn't something that exists. So I really appreciate all the work that Robert has done in educating the board and working with, I know Ernesto Medrano was helpful enough to help educate about, why this policy just isn't keeping up with the times that we are in. And do want to emphasize that this is not in any way a direction to our staff to hire non-contract project managers or general managers when there is somebody that is working with the trade unions. We obviously are very, very pro-labor on this property and want to make sure that on all of our projects, we keep that at the forefront when we're looking at who we want to work with and who we want to do to work on our property to keep it up to date and safe.
Thank you, Director Ruiz and Director Aiken. So Robert, just to kind of summarize this. So we used to have a policy that had a 70% requirement of journey level workers on the property for any of our projects. So now we have reduced that down to make it more achievable.
Yes, that is correct. Per the state policy, it says 60% right now. So that will apply like to the pipe trades, the electrical trades, but the basic trades, which are the ones who are having a hard time meeting the 70%, like Director Aiken stated, some of these apprenticeship programs were not in existence 25 years ago. And some of these workers have been with this company 20, 25, 30 years, which did not go through an apprenticeship program. So that was kind of a barrier. So under the language that we are adopting now through the California Public Contract Code, what it does to those basic trades, it brings them down to the 30%. So the 30% will apply to the basic trades and the 60% will apply to the other trades, like I said before, such as the pipe trades, the electrical trades, which their apprenticeship programs have been in existence for, for the last 40, 50 years. So having said that, this kind of works with all the trades. And so I think, by adopting this, I think it'll give the basic trades who were having a hard time meeting this 70%, it'll definitely work with them as well as the other trades that I mentioned before.
Thank you. And so this will, just to kind of put it in perspective for members of the public and some of our board members, there are projects that maybe started on the fairgrounds, but have to be delayed because they have, our contractors are unable to meet this threshold. So this is to the benefit of the fairgrounds.
That is correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you to you and Director Aiken for bringing this forward. I believe we had a motion and a second. Can we go ahead and get a roll call?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia.
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle.
Yes.
Director Cervantes.
Yes.
Director Ruiz. Director Ruiz.
Yes.
Director Aiken.
Yeah.
And Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thought Robert was voting against our motion for a second.
Well, perfect. So that motion passes. And I just wanted to confirm, we do not have any public comment related.
That is correct.
To that topic, right?
That is correct.
So, thank you. Moving on to agenda item F, which is presentation of Leadership Committee vision, goals, and plan for the Equestrian Center study and vote on whether or not to approve. This committee is made up of myself and Director LaBelle. And one of the things that we have asked we're bringing to the board today is a recommendation related to the Equestrian Center. So as many of you recall, I had asked for a launch of a market study to understand details of how the Equestrian Center is currently operating and if there were other operating models that we could compare it to that might make sense for our business model moving forward. I am happy to announce that the study will be conducted by Doug Lofstrom. He's the former CEO of the OC Fair and Event Center. I know many of you are familiar with him. Doug has a vast knowledge of the Orange County Fair and Event Center facilities. He has experience overseeing the operation of the Equestrian Center when he was in these roles in the past, and he has significant knowledge of equestrian operations in general. So the leadership committee, made up of myself and Director LaBelle, and CEO Richards, we met with Mr. Lofstrom to outline a draft plan for the study. In addition to the committees, we're recommending that the board discuss and agree on specific goals for the study because we think it's very important that we stay on topic so that the outcome is as concise and clear as we'd like. So at this time, I would just like to share the goals that we would like the board to discuss and vote on. The first one is a clear vision for the Equestrian Center in keeping the overall mission of the 32nd District Agricultural Association. The second goal is the integration of the Equestrian Center into the OC Fair and Event Center portfolio. So right now, it feels as though it's a little disconnected, but this includes, we would like it to be aligned and include programs offered at the annual OC Fair and Imaginology. And third, we would like to enhance public access to the Equestrian Center. That includes a variety of events and activities available to the general public. We are a state agency. We are we are accessible to all people within the Orange County community. So we want to make sure that we're enhancing that experience for everybody. The proposed market study also involves several key deliverables. And some of these deliverables include Equestrian Center historical narrative, current Equestrian Center operating model details, other Equestrian Center operating models, and then the Equestrian Center programming opportunities. Director LaBelle, do you have anything to add at this time?
Madam Chair, I think you stated it very clearly and articulately. Would have nothing really further to add other than not only does Doug Lofstrom bring his knowledge of the event center, being a former CEO and longtime employee, he's also very active in the equestrian community. So I think we get the best of both worlds with that, and I'm looking forward to the completion of the study that would then come back to, first of all, to the committee and then ultimately to the board for whatever actions that would be recommended out of that study. Thank you.
Thank you, Director LaBelle. And one of the things I want to highlight is the leadership committee, CEO Richards, Doug Lofstrom, we really want to make sure that this is a transparent process and we're including members of the public. That is why we're bringing this forward so early on in this process. But the market process will also include public input. We'll have feedback and comment sessions. So I just want every member of the public here today to understand that we will be including everybody in the process. And, I know that Doug will do a great job making sure he captures all of this feedback so that he can provide the board with as much information and thoughtful feedback as possible. So at this time, I would like to open it up for questions from the board, and then we can go ahead and take public comment because I believe we have 4 speakers on this topic.
This is Director Aiken. I have a comment. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the first slide? So when I read this, and I just want to get some clarification about kind of how we are using our committees and what are we doing, because it says that we have launched a market study, yet I don't think it was if it's a cost, I don't know if there's a cost associated with this. I don't know if there's a separate contract with Doug. And it seems like this might be a policy thing that should have been brought to the board before it was launched. And maybe it's just the use of the word launched. And if there was agreements with, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Doug Lostrom. He was such a great CEO when I started, and he's a great person for this job. But I feel like this kind of horse has been let out of the barn without any input from the rest of the board. So if you could just kind of fill me in on how this decision was made, what type of costs are going to be associated with this market study, what type of input from the public has helped you form these goals?
Thank you. Great question. So I know that it was brought up at a past meeting that we wanted to go this direction, since we have a contract with the equestrian operator that has been open and it's sort of been renewing every year. So that was one of the reasons. And I know I brought that up either in a November meeting or October meeting. I'm not sure which meeting that was. And I know that we did talk about, as a board, moving forward to look at this as an issue. But to your point, Director Aiken, that is why we're bringing it to the board today for discussion, so that you can see the goals that we've put into place, and we can open it up for discussion, modify if necessary, and give Doug the direction that he needs so he can move forward with the market study. We're trying to make this as transparent and engaging of a process as possible. It is clear that something needs to be done. And I know that the board discussed this specifically related to the contract. With the current operator, we just don't have any closure at this time. So before we can even get into whether or not we sign a new contract with somebody, we really need to do a market study. So Michelle, do you have anything to add to that, or Doug?
I just wanted to clarify sort of how Doug is coming back into the fold to help with this. There's not a contract for this market study. Doug, as most of you know, is a former OC Fair and Events Center employee, former employee of the state of California. So we're able to bring him back as a retired annuitant, which is allowed by one of Governor Newsom's most recent executive orders. And so Doug is sort of coming out of retirement for, I don't know, the 5th time to help us out. So we won't be, there won't be a contract with him. He'll be logging hours as a retired annuitant.
So he was already on staff before you launched this project through the leadership committee?
No, he was not reactivated until Friday of last week.
Okay, so we have a pretty, I don't know what the cost is, and I don't want to obviously get into personnel issues, but there's a cost associated with this that was approved, that was not brought before and voted on by the board. I mean, I guess it's just a process-driven argument, and I think that this is really something that we need to make sure, if we're having 2-person committees, this is exactly what we don't want to do, because this is what we get in trouble for. My second question is, why isn't this going through the facilities committee? This is absolutely within the purview of the facilities committee, and the fact that Mr. Lofstrom was hired and this market study was launched, is something that I wasn't part of the discussion with. I can't speak to Director Ruiz. And then I have, I guess on the second slide, if we could go forward, these formulating these.
Actually, let me answer your first question. So the reason why it didn't go through the facilities committee is because we're not really talking about modifying. It's not facilities related. And also the facilities committee has their plate full with master site planning and other things that you guys are focused on at this time. This is really related to the contract with the equestrian center. We're looking at public access, and maybe it's the words that we're using, market study. We're really just trying to look at whether or not we have the correct operating model. We're trying to bring it to the board today to be transparent. Due to Bagley-Keens, we are unable to discuss any of these topics as a full board. So we wanted to bring it to the board today for discussion. So I want to sort of diffuse the situation because it feels a little like getting upset about processes. That's why we're here today, to discuss the current process that we're recommending and figure out if this is the way the board would like to go. If you're recommending that you would prefer that we hold a public session to discuss what the goals are, then let's discuss that today. But this is the point of this entire exercise.
Madam Chair, if I might add, Madam Chair, if I might add to your comments, this has been before the board on at least 2 previous occasions, and I think it is clearly within the prerogative of the chair to assign tasks to the different committees, and it was your specific action to, as you said earlier, it's not a facilities type operation. It is, we've been operating under a month to month with the current operator for a number of years, and the intent was to bring forward to the board opportunities to basically make the equestrian center a more integrated part of the overall operations of the OC Fair and Event Center. It will not be like Centennial Farms or Heroes Hall, but it will be some hybrid of that, where we are making sure that we are providing opportunities for the public at large to be involved in learning more about the equestrian center and its operations. And I think that when we had this discussion, I don't remember the exact specifics of it at the last meeting when you were unable to attend, we did talk about that, and we did talk about bringing an individual on to complete a modeling program to look at the different options available to the board for future activities at the Equestrian Center. As you have indicated, Madam Chair, this is intended to be a very transparent operation, and the whole reason for outlining the different tasks that we propose to be accomplished by the board and seeking board action is that we don't get 6 months or a year or 2 years down the road and have been heading in one direction, and the board desires to go in another direction. So at your direction, the leadership committee is requesting of the full board comments and input so that when we move forward with our modeling efforts, we know we are consistent with the direction the board wants to take on this.
I appreciate that, Vice Chair LaBelle. I guess my concern is there's no price tag associated with this item. So I'm not quite sure, how to approve something without having that universe of information. Having been very involved with the master site plan process, I feel like some of these questions and targets of information that we are trying to explore, we've already paid somebody a lot of money to answer all of these questions. We already have that information. So are we hiring another consultant? Where are we looking for this information? I think there's just a lot of unanswered questions that I have. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence as an independent director to not duplicate efforts of things that we already have done.
If I might ask CEO Richards I know she's had conversations with Mr. Lostrom as to not only the scope of the work, but what we are looking at in terms of dollars. If you could speak to that, Michelle. And I think again, we're not looking at a facility issue. We're looking at an operational issue that relates to where we want the equestrian center to be. Michelle, can you speak to, I know Doug's time frame, as he expressed to the leadership committee, is probably no later than late April, May. He will have completed whatever work he's going to be doing and have that information back to the committee and ultimately the board. But I know you've had some discussion about dollars And I think the limitations are within the authority given to you as the CEO. Could you speak to that, Michelle?
Sure, I would be happy to. As I said, the plan was to reinstate Doug out of retirement into a retired annuitant position. He would be paid on a per hour basis. And what we've discussed is obviously we can't limit his hourly rate in that job classification, but we can limit the number of hours. And so it was discussed that he would be able to complete the study within 150 hours or less, which would bring the total work in around $10,000 or less.
And Michelle, can we have Ken talk a little bit about the master site plan and how this does not really duplicate that effort? I was on the master site plan committee or ad hoc committee for quite some time as well. And, you know, if he can also just talk a little bit about how these are different. It's not related to the facility, it's related to the operational aspect of the equestrian center.
Sure. Ken?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'd want to understand fully a little bit more exactly the goals and objectives once they were all agreed upon. But if there's information that we did gather within the master site plan that needs to be pulled out and come forward, obviously we could do that. I don't know that through the master site planning process that we looked at other business models or operating models. So in those aspects, I don't think there'd be a duplication. But again, once it's decided upon each task, we can look to see if there's information that would be easily garnered out of the previous review.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, at this time, the leadership committee was just looking to have, well, this is a really good discussion because we wanted to bring it here, but we also just really want to look at whether or not these are clear enough goals for Doug to move forward with, if we are comfortable with him doing so. This introduction of this item was not intended to make it appear as though we're moving forward anyways. The entire purpose of this was to bring it to the board for discussion and to determine whether or not we're going this direction. We do need to make some decision at some point, and I wanted it to be an informed decision on what we do with our contract with our current operator. The other thing is Doug will work with everybody at the equestrian center. I know there has been tremendous outreach and concern from some of the people who are already who are trainers at the facility or have some sort of connection, but the fairgrounds, our contract is with the current operator, not with the individuals who might be operating their business out of the equestrian center. But I know Doug will be reaching out to everybody just to find out, you know, information to inform the board. Doug's whole purpose is to inform the entire board. So that's all I'll add at this point. Michelle, can we go ahead and get, or Summer, can we take public comment on this one?
Sure. We have Lisa Sabo, followed by Gibran Stout, then Cindy Macero. Lisa, when you're ready.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for taking this issue up. We really appreciate it. Real quick, I've been here at the Equestrian Center since 2007. I'm the president of the Orange County Fairgrounds Preservation Society, and I think all the board knows it. I've been very involved with that. I majored in ag business at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I've trained up to the Olympic level. We've had students go up to the Olympic level. One of our students received the silver medal individually in the Beijing Olympics. Also, my husband's been the coach to the Mexican Olympic team. And the last 2 years running, we've had the top young rider in the United States train out of the Orange County Equestrian Center. We also run a United States Pony Club here with about 30 active members, when we've been able this last year to keep everything COVID safe and follow the COVID rules. And also we started a nonprofit called Changing Strides, which has struggled this last year desperately. But anyway, I have a lot of experience and I appreciate you taking up this issue, and we want to be involved. We have a team of equestrians already, a whole committee that want to be involved with this process. And we were also too a little worried about the market study. And we asked, you know, who's going to help with this market study? We want to please include equestrians in the market study. Please include us and let us have comment. Let us help. I'm very experienced. I can help. And a lot of other people can help. We're a very well-rounded equestrian center. And then also in the County of Orange here, this whole area, we are in the process right now of losing 2 equestrian centers. And so I love horses. I believe horses really heal people, they help people, and we need to keep the Orange County Fairgrounds Equestrian Center alive and happy. So thank you so much for taking my comment, and we're here to help. We want to be involved. Thank you, Summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Gibran Stout, when you're ready. Gibran, it's *6 to mute and unmute. Can you do that? Gibran, I'll circle back. Cindy Massaro, when you're ready.
Thank you. I too want to echo what Lisa Sabo was sharing. I really appreciate you taking up this issue and really preserving the equestrian center and looking at ways to really integrate that into the community. I just wanted to thank you for your attention to that.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Gibran, are you with us now?
Yes, hi, sorry.
Okay, go.
I have 2 devices going, so sorry about that. Okay, yes, hello. I am a parent and in the Newport Mesa School District with many relationships with parents and educators, including 3 that are on the Newport Mesa School Board. I'm an equestrian, a patron of local public and urban equestrian facilities in the area since 1970. I've built a vast network of equine users in varying disciplines, as well as many managers of public equestrian facilities throughout LA and Orange County, as well as nationwide. This vast network also includes collaborating with the region-wide equine emergency evacuation plan we're currently working on. And this network has been further expanded during the data collection during the Equestrian Center COVID protocol and planning. We have an extensive amount of information on other facilities and works and models and plans and contracts. I'm also a real estate broker. I have been licensed since 1990. I have over 25 years of commercial real estate lending experience, including property management. I am just one of many of the experienced and competent people available to you for free in your quest to revitalize the Equestrian Center. We are excited to work with you and recognize that the current model is now obsolete. You need a new model, and I think a new RFP moving forward. We are very excited in your quest to revitalize. We can envision a vivacious community equine center, which offers many public year-round programs in addition to the fair and Imaginology. We would love to see more variety, more collaboration, perhaps expansion of the ranch program, inclusion of veteran equine therapy that collaborates with Heroes Hall, just to name a few. You do not have all the information, but I'm telling you that there's a lot of us here who have been doing a lot of research that would love to share with you for free. We love that Doug's here. Before you can assess what you want to do, you need to assess what you have. Please do not just listen to the narrative, but also review actual expenses of operating the facility. Review the last 5 years of the 1120s and the K1s. Look at schedules and pages as well as bank statements. Item 21C of the current contract provides for 5 years worth of financial documents. So please get them, review them. You have some great people on staff and on the board. See for yourself what it actually costs to run. See how much profit there actually is. Inspect the facility. Financially, you should look at this as a large apartment building with tenants. But you need to feed them, and you have large common areas of specialized care and needs, so that needs to be in consideration. You have an excellent opportunity to create something truly great here. We would love to see some sort of hybrid management model here. If the facility were run by a nonprofit, there would be greater transparency and sponsors would have incentive to donate. And then OCFEC could put the profits back into the facility and into programming.
Given that's time.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Reggie Mundicus. Reggie, when you're ready.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to address you this morning on the equestrian center issues. I support this item. I think a market study is very much needed at this time. The equestrian center is in a very precarious position because there's a month-to-month contract to operate it, and that's the way it's been for a decade. And that is a scary way to do business. We're also dealing with aging facilities that have not had the maintenance done by the current operators required under the contract. I also agree with VP Carnes that although the master site plan addressed the equestrian center, the question of the market for equestrian services was not part of that study. So we do need to go out to get that information, and I support Mr. Lofstrom and his what amounts to a very cost-effective effort to do that. So with that said, we have an equestrian center that right now uses 8 acres of very valuable land and serves very few people. It is the purview of a few people who have the money and resources to afford horses, and we need to open it up to the rest of the community. We need to have better integration into the OC Fair, into local school programs. You know, maybe the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts want to do an equestrian program. We need to have low-cost programs for community members to gain access to the facility. We need to have actual credentialed equine therapy programs. We also need to end the whole idea of you can just declare yourself to be an equine therapist without any training or credentials. We also need, I'm going to call it economic equality and balancing of economic interests with community access and the needs of high-priced trainers. There's a few trainers down there that make a lot of money, okay? They drive Porsches. And there's a lot of trainers down there scraping by. Those are the lower-end trainers usually do more community programs. So we need to find a way of balancing the interests of the Porsche drivers with the rest of the community. So thank you for taking on this difficult issue. And I think you're doing it well. And we need to collect data and figure out how we're going to make our equestrian center viable for the next decade and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. Chair Rubalcaba Garcia, that concludes public comment for this item.
Perfect. Thank you, Summer. And I just want to emphasize before I turn it back to the board for discussion that there has not been a market study conducted yet. This item is being brought to the board so that we can discuss the market study being launched. We have reactivated Doug Lofstrom to help us with this process. And I also just want to emphasize the deliverables that Mr. Lofstrom will be providing to the board so that we can make informed decisions. We want to make sure that we have all of the information before we do anything with the Equestrian Center, because we know it is a very important part of our agriculture, as well as just a part of the fairgrounds. So some of the deliverables that Doug will be providing are Equestrian Center historical narrative, current Equestrian Center operating model details, and that will include revenue figures, budget overviews, other Equestrian Center operating models. We are interested in finding out how others are running their facilities and whether or not they are successful. And then Equestrian Center programming opportunities. And I also want to re-emphasize that the market study process will include public input, feedback, and comment sessions. Nothing will be decided by the leadership committee alone. That is not how our committees are designed to function. We will be bringing everything back to the full board for discussion and vote on everything moving forward, just as we did with this initial item. So now I would like to open it up to the board for any additional questions on this item.
Madam Chair, I would recommend that the board approve the Leadership Committee's goals as set forth within the staff report.
Second.
So Michelle, this is Director Aiken. Is Doug going to be conducting all of this work in-house, not outsourcing to any consultants? He's going to be doing all of this research using the information that we have already generated plus community input?
That's correct. Yes. And just to reemphasize too, I know that is important to the committee. It's important to me, and I know it's important to the rest of the board too, that there be input from the users of the equestrian center, the operator of the equestrian center, and the public as a whole. So that will most definitely be part of the assignment.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a first and a second. Summer, can you please take roll call?
Chair Rubalcaba Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Now on to agenda item G, about the use of legislative representation services and vote on whether or not to continue the service. This item is being brought forward by Director Cervantes and myself. I will just kind of highlight it, and then I'm going to turn it over to Michelle for additional discussion on this topic. But we currently have a legislative representative, a lobbyist that we use out of Sacramento to help keep the board informed on various issues that are occurring at the state level. The board invests about $60,000 on this service a year. At this time, we are recommending that we suspend that service since we are able to access similar representation through some of our associations, including the Western Fairs Association. I also want to reinforce the fact that Gonzalez and Son, the group that we have been using, has done an excellent job on behalf of the Orange County Fairgrounds. This is solely in order to save costs in a recovery year and not duplicate services that we're currently receiving from other organizations. Sandra, anything to add on that?
No, I think you're good. Thank you.
Thank you. And Michelle?
Yes, just to add a little bit more background, we entered into a 2-year contract with 3 one-year options for renewal back in March of 2016 with Gonzalez and Sons. And just to echo what Chair Rubalcaba Garcia said, they've been an excellent firm to work with. That contract expires at the end of February. So we would need to go back out to RFP, issue an RFP to bid that contract. And so I raised this as an issue to the Governance and Legislative Committee because I was concerned about the cost. There's a $5,000 per month retainer, and the services that Gonzalez and Sons was providing to us is also available to us, as Natalie indicated, because of our membership with WFA, and also we're kind of the board seat that we have on the California Fairs Alliance kind of puts us right at the forefront of any legislative information or news that comes out. So I just wonder if it would be prudent for us to not go out to RFP, at least for this year. Our ability to use legislative representation firms is very, very limited as a government agency. So I brought this forward to the committee as a way to cut some costs for 2021.
Any questions from the board on this topic?
I have a couple questions for Michelle. This is Director Aiken. I agree, and I really appreciate you trying to bring things to our attention that are cost-saving measures given the precarious situation coming out of 2020. Is there a way, because I believe we started doing this because at certain points, being I guess the only big dog left, the interests and vision of the Orange County Fair sometimes is very different than some of the other member organizations of WFA. And it was meant to be a little bit of protection for us when our interests were going in a different direction. And that has happened several times in the last couple of years where we did have to use Gonzalez and Sons because we didn't agree with the direction and the lobbying efforts going forward by WFA. So if a situation like that arises again, do we have the ability to work with Gonzalez and Sons on an hourly basis on a specific project without going out for an RFP? Or is it, have we talked to them about, is it retainer or nothing? Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
I sure will. And that's an excellent question. If there were a situation where we needed representation that was maybe different from a position that WFA might take, or the majority of other fairs might take, we could absolutely use Gonzalez and Sons on a one-off basis. Obviously, there's a not to exceed figure for that, but we would just do a simple bid process at that point. I should say that Gonzalez and Sons did, has offered to reduce their retainer, but as I said, the contract runs out at the end of February. So we have to go out to RFP or suspend the service until, we're maybe in a better position to go out to RFP. But absolutely, we could use them on a one-off basis and be billed on, an hourly rate.
What are some examples of different reasons we've had to use them in the past?
The one thing that comes to mind specifically is when the board was interested in doing a 50-50 raffle at the fair, and there was legislation needed for that, and so Gonzalez and Sons helped push that legislation forward. Unfortunately, it didn't get legs, it didn't get passed, but that's an example of something that was maybe fair specific, specific to the OC Fair and Event Center. Although if that legislation had passed, it would have applied to all fairs in California, not just the OC Fair.
Madam Chair, if I might, this is Director LaBelle. First of all, Director Aiken, I think, articulated it very, very clearly. One of the fundamental reasons we initially retained Gonzalez and Sons is that there are situations whereby the interest of the OC Fair and Event Center is not consistent with the interest of other fairs throughout the state and elsewhere. And we brought Gonzalez and Son on for that reason. I've had a number of interactions over the years in many organizations with Gonzalez and Sons, and they have been, as Michelle indicated, very, very supportive and responsive. Let me just add one item to what Michelle has indicated. About a year ago, before the pandemic, Director Bonarise and I were on a committee that engaged with Ken and Michelle regarding our long-term need to find additional storage areas for the RCS and other fair materials, based upon the fact that Orange County or Orange Coast College has obviously utilized all of their space that we were once using for other purposes on the junior college site. One of the distinct advantages that I have found, not only with this situation with Gonzalez, but in past situations, they are they've been in Sacramento for 40 some odd years plus, and they are very knowledgeable of the operations of the various state agencies. I think Michelle and Ken can speak to this. Barbara and I had asked that they seek out opportunities for sites that might be available, owned or controlled by the state. What generally happens is Gonzalez does something in an hour that it would take an individual like myself or a staff member 10 hours to figure out who to talk to and how to basically go through the maze of who you need to talk to get a given item taken care of. Michelle and Ken, if you can speak to that, I think your experience when you went to Sacramento, they were extremely helpful in that area. And I think to the extent that we would have the ability on a case-by-case basis, sooner or later this pandemic is going to be over and we're going to have the same problem we had a year ago in terms of where do we store all of the equipment that is needed during the fair. We're going to have that opportunity. We got to find some solutions. So if you could speak to that, I would appreciate it.
Gonzalez and Sons was excellent during that trip. They set up the appointments for us with the representatives from the Department of General Services, and I made a list as well of other elected officials that represent our area that we wanted to call on while we were up there, and Gonzalez and Sons did all of that scheduling for us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Director LaBelle and Director Aiken. Do we have any public comment on this topic?
We do not.
Is there any further discussion from the board? Can I go ahead and get a motion to approve suspending the use of Gonzalez and Son for 2021 or not renewing the contract?
I so move.
Second, this is Director Kolasevich.
Thank you. Summer, can we get roll call, please?
Chair Rubalcava Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know this is not normal, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend that we take a 5-minute break. It is now 11:47 and we still have a couple of agenda items that are very detailed. So if we can go ahead and take 5 minutes and then be back, that'd be great.
roll call.
Chair Rubalcava Garcia,
Present.
Vice Chair LaBelle, Director Cervantes,
Here.
Director Ruiz, Director Aiken,
Present.
Director Kovacevic,
Here.
Director Cervantes. I think she.
Here.
Thank you. And Director Ruiz.
We'll go ahead and wait a 1 minute for them to go ahead and join. And once they're back on, we will go ahead and move on to agenda item H, which is admission ticket prices, an update from the staff.
Director LaBelle's here.
Thank you, Director LaBelle.
Summer, I see Director Ruiz is on, but he's muted.
So perfect.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and get started.
Okay. So I'll take this one. In the meeting with the Finance and Audit Committee, we did go over our recommendations for pricing for the 2021 OC Fair, and we'll get into a little more detail in a few minutes about what the fair might look like for 2021. But each year, as part of the annual budget process, the Board of Directors approves admission ticket pricing for the OC Fair. You might remember that back in October, when we first presented the draft 2021 budget to the board, we had a placeholder because there was so much uncertainty connected with what might or might not be able to happen in 2021. So we put a placeholder of a blended rate of $9.33 for admission with built into the budget. And we agreed that as it became clearer about the potential for a 2021 OC Fair, that we would present specific pricing to the board for approval. So that's what we're here today to do. So staff is presenting the following as our recommendations for 2021. Now, you might also remember that we did not propose a gate ticket increase in 2020. Obviously, the fair didn't happen in 2020. But we didn't propose it, and the board did not approve a ticket increase for 2020, but decided they wanted to reevaluate that for 2021. Given the landscape, given the restrictions that we might have on the 2021 fair, we believe the most prudent thing to do is not to take a ticket increase in 2021. And I'll go over that in a little more detail. On the chart in front of you is the current pricing, and this is the pricing that we're recommending for 2021. So the general admission ticket for adults age 13 to 59 would be $12 on weekdays, which is Wednesday and Thursday, and $14 on weekends. Friday is being moved to a weekend day because the demand for Friday in recent years has been just as strong as Saturday and Sunday. Children age 6 to 12 would remain at $7, both weekdays and weekends. Seniors, weekdays and weekends would remain at $7. And then of course, as always, children age 5 and younger would be free. So let me go over very quickly what our assumptions were in building these recommendations. As I mentioned, that first, weekends will now include Friday along with Saturday and Sunday. As recent trends indicate that demand for attendance on Friday is much higher than other weekdays. and consistent with attendance that we've seen on Saturdays and Sundays. And although the board indicated last year that it might reconsider a ticket price increase in 2021, we are not recommending that there be a ticket increase, price increase. It's also important to note that guests will be purchasing their tickets online in advance, which will incur Ticketmaster processing fees. But we are proposing that the OC Fair and Event Center will absorb those fees, allowing the ticket prices to remain unchanged for our guests. So they will not be paying those Ticketmaster fees. So we are working on a full reforecast and a P&L for the fair. I'll remind the board that when we presented the initial reforecast for the modified fare at 50% attendance, that was showing a $6 million profit on the fair. If we can expand the fair to the full 23 days, as it looks like we may be able to do, that profit will increase. So we feel perfectly comfortable recommending that we not take a ticket price increase for 2021, but remain at the same pricing that we've had for the last couple of years.
Michelle, what's the cost of the Ticketmaster fees?
At the volume that we're expecting, it's going to add about $1 per ticket. We're going to continue to renegotiate to see if we can get that even lower, but it would have been about $1 increase for our guests, but we're recommending that the fair absorb those fees.
And the Ticketmaster, using Ticketmaster and generating the tickets is to manage our capacity?
Yes.
Okay, and the touchless system?
Yes. Now, guests will still be able to, for those that don't have access to a computer or not computer savvy, we will have some on-site sales, and people can always come to the box office to purchase their tickets, and there are no fees associated with that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
This is Director Aiken. I had a similar question. So has there been any analysis on whether we could bring the processing of tickets in-house as opposed to using Ticketmaster? I know they have a contract and we have to use them for the Pacific Amphitheater, but is there a reason that we can't do all of our ticketing in-house and just have people that are able to show their phones as opposed to doing printout tickets at all?
Well, we would still need to go through a ticketing agency that could handle the actual transaction with the customer. But people can print out their ticket, or they can show the barcode, for lack of a better word, on their phones as well. So obviously we're pushing people as much as we can toward online purchasing because it's touchless and it speeds up things at the gate. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, I think that, and obviously for safety and not knowing exactly where we're going to be, that's a very, very smart and well thought out plan. I was just thought that with say Hangar Action Sports Arena, that there were ways that we could issue tickets to people outside of Ticketmaster.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be in violation of our current contract with Ticketmaster. I understand the question now. Yeah.
Thank you, Ned. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm on mute. I do that at least once a day. Any other questions from the board? Do we have any public comment on this topic?
We do not.
Perfect. Hearing that there are none, can we go ahead and get a motion to approve this recommendation?
I'll recommend we approve the recommendation.
Second.
I think that was Director LaBelle and Director Cervantes. Summer, can you please take roll call?
Chair Rubicava Garcia,
Yes.
Vice Chair LaBelle,
Yes.
Director Cervantes,
Yes.
Director Ruiz,
Yes.
Director Aiken,
Yes.
and Director Kovacevic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Now moving on to the only informational item on the agenda, the presentation of the 2021 OC Fair planning. And I'm going to turn this over to CEO Richards.
Well, I have to say I'm having a hard time curbing my my excitement about this topic. I just can't tell you what it's been like over the last year to pivot as many times as we have had to. Are we going to be able to have a fair? What kind of fair will it be? I have to hand it to the staff for really hanging in there for as many times as we've put you know, a redirection in front of them. But I'm very happy to report today that we believe, in conjunction with our public health officer from the OC Healthcare Agency, that the prospects of having a 2021 OC Fair are quite good. So I will walk you through some of our latest discussions. So after initial discussions with the OC Healthcare Agency, you might remember that we moved forward with beginning to plan a modified fair, which would include 50% attendance at the fair, all advanced ticket sales. We would have to comply with social distancing and mandatory face coverings. Recent OC Healthcare Agency projections are now indicating that Orange County will reach the required 70% COVID immunity level by early July. And Dr. Clayton Chow has given us very good indications that an expanded modified fair, what we're calling a modified plus fair, is likely for the summer of 2021. That is Plan A. Now, we've all heard some glitches with the rollout of the vaccine, but it looks like those are being addressed, and we should be on trend to reach that 70% immunity level by the time the fair rolls out. But as we know, the fair takes a lot of planning, a whole lot of planning. So we are recommending that if that trend is not good by April, then we would move to Plan B. And Plan B would be to move the fair dates from mid-July to mid-August and move them back to fall dates. We are still working with our major partners, the Carnival, for example, to make sure that we can have those clear dates in the fall and not step on another fair in the area. As we look at the possibility of moving the fair to the fall if necessary, again, if things are not trending the way they should by July, then we would move to Plan C. And Plan C would be to pivot to a drive-through fair experience. And obviously, we're hoping that that doesn't happen, but we just want to have that contingency plan in place. So for now, we are continuing our planning around Plan A, which is a modified plus fair with 75% capacity. So let me tell you what that might look like. We are shooting for our dates of July 16th through August 15th. That's the full 23 days of our normal fair rollout, with Mondays and Tuesdays dark. The hours we're proposing, and this may change slightly as we detail our plans out, but we're looking at opening a little bit earlier at 10 a.m. and closing at 11 p.m. And that would allow every day for there to be plenty of hours and plenty of space for people to roll out. And as just approved by the board, our ticket pricing will be general admission, $12 on the weekdays, $14 on the weekends, including Friday, and then of course $7 for kids and seniors. We are going to cap our attendance at 45,000 people per day. Normally our normal average attendance is about 60,000 per day. So this would be about 75% of that number. The reason that we are moving toward capping the attendance, obviously, is to provide a great fair experience, a safe and healthy fair experience for our guests, but also as we hear about the situation in San Diego with the San Diego County Fair, the LA County Fair, and their ability to even have a fair in 2021, it's entirely possible that we may be the only major fair in Southern California, and we just can't chance the situation where 100,000 people might want to rush our gates on a particular day. So we are going to cap attendance at 45,000 per day. That's also to ensure that we can manage our resources profitably and properly, and make sure that we provide a great experience for our guests. As mentioned before, tickets will be purchased in advance online. That's to make sure that we can provide that touchless, contactless opportunity for our guests. We will not be selling any additional super passes. You might remember that we halted super pass sales when the fair was canceled in April, but there were about 5,000 super passes that had already been sold at that point. We feel that we can still honor those, but we will not be selling any additional super passes, again, because of the need to manage that capacity every day. We are continuing to work with the OC Healthcare Agency on a mandate for proof of vaccination, which would be required to access the fair, and masks being strongly encouraged. We understand that some people may have a medical exemption from the vaccination, and we'll work through that so that folks can still enter the fair with those medical exemptions, but obviously masks to protect them and others as well. I'm going to turn it over to Joan for some further updates on the programming and marketing side.
Okay. So for the 2021 Modified Plus OC Fair, here are a few things that are being planned. First of all, in the modified version, we were looking at 50% capacity with Pacific Amphitheater. I'm delighted to announce that seating capacity for Pacific Amphitheater and the hangar will be at full capacity. As a reminder, Pacific Amphitheater seats a little over 8,000. And the seating capacity of the hangar for shows is about 1,500. Currently, there are 12 shows that are on sale for Pacific Amphitheater, 3 of which are pre-fair shows, so we would open that up to a fuller attendance. Action Sports Arena, or ASA, will not be activated for public programming purposes. And this goes back to managing expenses and resources. So for 2021 in the Modified Plus format, the ASA will be used for purposes other than public programming. Pig races, a perennial favorite at the annual OC Fair, and we're looking to bring that back, but we're looking to relocate the pig races to Park Plaza area. So more in the central portion of the fair. That's an ever popular event that happens several times of the day. So crowds move in and out. So that will be a good transition to move that for this year, 2021. A presentation, another youth and family programming zone, which is a huge favorite. The large tent structure for Explorium, which is where we house youth and family, or excuse me, youth exhibits and programming for kids and families is wildly popular, but we will not be bringing the actual tent structure itself back. We will be keeping the programming, but we'll be relocating that to another area. So youth and family will not have to miss out on that great program. It'll just be in a different location. And on that note, in terms of moving things around, programs to include visual arts, home arts, culinary, woodworking, as well as commercial exhibits, so shopping, will all be back in an interior format, but some of these things will be relocated to other buildings. So we're shuffling the deck a bit. And then a major focus of our marketing and communications departments will be educating the public by creating a How to Fair campaign. Everything from purchasing admission tickets online and in advance, what CEO Richards just went over, to hours of operation, what to expect when you're at the fair, and health and safety protocols. So educating the public and even creating tutorials that will live on our website and on social media as appropriate about how to return to fair and what to expect as we reopen OC Fair and welcome back the public.
Thank you, Joan. Ken, how about on the operations side?
Thanks, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, this is nice, seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and it not being a freight train coming at us. So we are all excited. Health and safety, from the board to the staff to everyone, has been the #1 core value of this association, and that has never been more important than it is right now. All surveys indicate from any customer attending any kind of event that they want to feel safe and be safe. So with that, we're developing, producing, and laying out a fair that takes that all in mind. So creating that elbow room, ensuring sanitization, ensuring masks, ensuring vaccination, all very, very critical. Where that starts, oh, well, sorry, I should follow the bullets because they're going out of turn to what I'm talking about. Sorry, the bullets will have to catch up. So where this all starts is truly at our gates. That's one of the most important spots where issues need to be resolved. So you heard, we're going to try our best to be 100% in advance ticket sales, to be touch-free and eliminate those long lines of folks lining up to buy a ticket. So if we're successful in resolving that, the next point is the gates themselves, where we've done a lot of work over the years to improve safety at the gates through magnetometers, the bag checking, the wanding, etc. Now, in that scenario, we stop 100% of the customers, but we know that less than 1% of the customers actually may have a prohibited item with them. So the thought, turning that to where you're only dealing with the less than 1% and 99% can flow through, would be ideal. So there is new equipment that's evolving on the market, a new type of magnetometer called a blade unit. And if we're successful in having these blade units at our gates, it will improve the flow through exponentially so that we don't have those crowds and we don't have those lines. So this technology not only will take your temperature as you flow through, but it is also smart enough to tell the difference between a prohibited item and an item that is allowed. For example, it will be able to tell the difference between a set of car keys and a pocket knife. So if 99% of the people can flow through and you only have to pull less than 1% of the people over to the side to do a double check, we have improved that flow right from the time someone gets out of their car, they've already got their ticket, and they flowed through our gate. Yet to be determined, and definitely has to be worked through. You saw that proof of vaccination may become something that we have to undertake. So we are going to work through the hows and wheres that will occur. But we will absolutely be strongly encouraging mask wearing when you're not eating or drinking, maintaining distancing, the washing of hands, and of course, all our health and safety sanitization protocols. So that's a big key in the Modified Fare Plus moving forward. We will have our concessionaires. Again, the what is going to be programmed on the grounds will be modified slightly. Will not need everyone to participate, nor will there be enough room for everyone to participate. So the team will methodically go through the layout to see what we can accommodate where. And the merchants, when we were under the modified fare, were going to be outside. We are now moving merchants back inside with modified layouts in 2 of our buildings. So we are able to accommodate a little bit more on the merchant side. But any of the decisions we make operationally will be tied to that original goal and original mandate of health and safety. Have we got anything? Okay. So the 45,000, we think we can accommodate ideally and provide that customer service. That's not 45,000 people on the site all at once. As we know, people can come and go from the fair, and at 45,000, we believe that'll be 2 true rollovers happening within any given day. So with that, we know we can accommodate with our parking lots and support of the Orange Coast College parking lots, everything that we need to for staff parking and when I say staff parking, that means everyone, all our partners, everyone that it takes to put on the fair, along with our customers coming to the gate. So that also helped us determine that 45,000 number. So we should have less impact on streets, less impact on neighborhoods, and doing our best to accommodate that parking on site and at Orange Coast College. One of the changes through the programming as a result of challenges that we have operationally and financially and a need is utilizing for this year the Action Sports Arena for back of house, not only for storage, load in and load out perhaps of livestock needs, but there is a multitude of needs that we are not going to be able to accommodate because we will not have the same amount of offsite storage that we had in the past. And with everything being looked at, we are suspending operations in ASA for 2021. I think I started a little bit with this first bullet that there is overall layout changes in every aspect of the fair under the light and the guise of ensuring that we create enough elbow room. An example is where Husson's and some other areas are, there was that large shade structure. Any evening that you went in that area, those picnic tables were jammed with people. Husson's was packed. Those kind of things, we will have to accommodate some layout changes to give more resting room, resting areas for folks. So changes like that will occur. Club OC, that tent will not occur in that location. Likely more picnic tables, again, for people to spread out. So there will be layout changes all over the fair to accommodate a little more elbow room. That's again, same on an analysis with the carnival. Based on the number of folks coming, they will analyze the number of rides and games required to properly service those folks and have enough room for queuing and whatnot. So the one thing, when people say the fair never changes, well, the fair will change, and look forward to searching out what, well, that always used to be there, and maybe it won't be, and you'll have to go look for it. So won't that be fun? I think I've covered everything off.
You have. Thank you so much, Ken. Just a few follow-up. These are some issues, big issues that we are still working on, that we will continue to bring back to the board for updates. The first one is confirmation on mandatory vaccinations and mask recommendations. We know that there is an effort by the California Department of Food and Agriculture to provide very specific guidelines for the operation of fairs in this post-COVID world. And so while it's staff's recommendation that we make vaccinations mandatory, we're awaiting those guidelines from the state, and we'll integrate those into our plans as they come available. We will need to have limited on-site sales to accommodate our guests who do not have access to computers or who are not computer savvy. And so, but still maintaining our 45,000 per day capacity. Now, if we are a week or two into the fair and we believe things are running very smoothly and there's the ability to add a little bit more attendance on a particular day, then we would have the ability to do that as well. We are also evaluating all of our community give back programs. For example, We Care Wednesday. How can we still help our community when we have a limited capacity? What about some of the promotional days? The last thing we want to do is produce a fair that is only available to certain members of the community. We want to make sure that everybody will have an opportunity if they choose to come to the fair. And so we're reevaluating all of those community give back programs. They will have to be retooled to make sure that we can still serve those in need in our community, but comply with all of the health and safety guidelines that we have. Obviously, we are going to need to do a major budget reforecast. This is opening up a lot more opportunity for the fair to generate revenue. And we will bring that back to the board in February for a full review so that everyone knows going into our fair planning what we expect our P&L to be and how that might affect the full budget. And then of course, lots and lots and lots of details to be worked out. So staff has their work cut out for them for sure. But I chose this photo on this slide because I'd like everyone to look at the pure joy on this little girl's face. And this is exactly how we all felt when we first began to realize the great opportunity we have in 2021 to bring the OC Fair back, whether that will be in midsummer, whether we have to move to some fall dates if necessary. But this is what we do. This is what drives us. This is where our passion is. And we are very, very excited to be the first out of the gate really in Orange County to say it is time for fun. So that kind of concludes our update for this month, and we're happy to take any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Michelle and Ken and Joan. Any comments from the board on this agenda item?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Director LaBelle. I have a couple of questions and then some comments relative to the alternatives to the July-August fair. First of all, explain to me how we can have PAC Amp totally occupied with 8,800 seats and the hangar occupied with 1,500 seats and still maintain some sort of social distancing. All of the stuff I read in here is that even if the vaccinations are what everyone hopes they will be, there's still going to be some ongoing social distancing requirements, if not mandated, at least recommended. How are we going to handle that in PAC Amp and the hangar?
That's a very good question, and it's the exact same question that we had for Dr. Clayton Chow as well. Because of our recommendation that we make vaccination mandatory, proof of vaccination mandatory, and because he believes that the county will be at the required 70% immunity level, that there will not be a concern with having those performances in the Pacific Amphitheater and the hangar, especially because the Pacific Amphitheater performances are outdoors. So we are going to continue to monitor that trend and make adjustments as necessary. But as it stands right now, we would have approval from the Orange County Healthcare Agency if we meet that immunity level to go ahead and be able to fill those seats at the Pacific Amphitheater and the hangar.
Well, with all due respect to Dr. Chow, and he's certainly has far more knowledge than I have or ever will have. There are other regulatory agencies, i.e. the state of California, federal government, et cetera, that may, have a different assessment of what we ought to be doing. And again, I'd hate to see us sell out a concert between now and April and then have to back up and cut it back to 50% or 25% or whatever the case may be. So I just raise that as an area of concern, and I think we need a lot more information as a board before we get to that point. Secondly, I do appreciate Ken's comments on how we're going to be able to social distance, and Reggie had made comments earlier about, as we all know, it's pretty dense in the area where the staff that is with RCS and others is accommodated during the course of the fair. So I appreciate the fact that staff is working hard to make sure we create other opportunities in that area. Secondly, have we had any definitive feedback from RCS that they would be available to do Plan B, which would be September, October, or October, early November? Have we? How far down the road are we with the RCS folks to see if they would be available?
Yes, we have. In fact, we met with them last week by Zoom, as we have every 3 weeks over the last several months, and they are prepared to have backup dates in the fall. They are coordinating with the other fairs that they work with as well, and the next meeting that we have, we should be able to nail down those dates in the fall.
And I guess my last comment at this point in time is to build on Reggie and Gibran's earlier comments and other board members, Robert and Nick's. I think it would be very appropriate for us to become proactive in terms of reaching out to the small mom and pop restaurant businesses in the county that are obviously, all of them are suffering in one way or another. I'm sure there's an Orange County Restaurant Association or some other affiliated organization that we could reach out to provide them with the information. Secondly, in addition to trying to obviously expand the diversity of foods that are provided at the fair and provide opportunities for Orange County businesses, the corporate entities should be approached as well, I would think. If memory serves me correct, BJ's Restaurants, the headquarters are in Huntington Beach. The headquarters for In-N-Out Burger, I believe, is in the Irvine area, and there may be some other corporate entities. So I would just as soon have an In-N-Out Burger, and we do have hamburgers there, and we do have, other than the deep fried Oreos, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, normal food that is at the fair, including, barbecue stuff and that. Obviously, we have the Newport Rib Company, and there's a couple branches of that. They have been very supportive of the Heroes Hall Veterans Museum. I think everybody remembers they did an actual fundraiser for us. So I think we should be just as proactive as we can in reaching out to all restaurant opportunities from the corporate level on down. I would rather have a local Orange County business providing the hamburgers than some business from Florida doing the same thing. And I would think that the corporate or the requirements for being able to do this can't be all that restrictive when you look at the, certainly when you look at the corporate entities, as well as the mom and pops. A lot of the vendors that we have at the fair mom and pops. So I for one think we should be just as aggressive and proactive as we can in reaching out to the entire Orange County marketplace, if you will. Maybe we don't get them this year, but maybe over the next couple of years, you know, we begin to expand what's occurring at the fair in terms of Orange County businesses. So that would conclude my comments at this time. I am a glasses half full kind of guy, but I realistically think, given everything I'm hearing out there, that Plan B is where we're going to ultimately end up at, hopefully. And but we need to keep moving forward on what we're looking at in July and August. So that would conclude my comments, and I do appreciate staff's very hard work in trying to put all this together. It's definitely challenging times.
Thank you, Director LaBelle. Any other comments from the board before we go to public comment? I know we have 3 speakers on this topic.
Hi, this is Sandra Cervantes, and I have a comment as well. I agree with Director LaBelle, and my better judgment tells me that even though I want to be very, very optimistic, and what I see and what I feel and taking a pulse on what's really happening out there, I just don't see how it is realistic to go ahead and move forward with a plan A. I really feel that maybe we need to start with the end in mind, and I know that we will go ahead and open, but maybe plan B is a better plan to go ahead and focus, just so we don't have to go ahead and make any additional or additional change of dates if we don't need to. I have a couple of concerns, and my concern is I'm not quite sure how I feel about a mandate of everybody being vaccinated. And I don't know how the public feels about that as well. I know that there's a portion of people that are not able to get vaccinated for different reasons. And so there's some mixed feelings about that, and maybe we need to gather a little bit more information about that. I personally love the idea to take this opportunity between now and the next few months to do some local outreach that at one point, a couple of people from the public have been addressing that it is important to go ahead and bring in local people into the mix. And I think that's important. So it's a feel-good event, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. And we will continue to further talk about this, but my better judgment tells me that I could just not see a plan A being worked in place. I see a plan B. And that is my comment.
Thank you, Director Cervantes. Any other comments from the board? Hearing there are none at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to public comment.
Yes, we have 3 members of the public that would like to speak. Rita Jackal, followed by Carla Montgomery, then Cindy Macero. Rita, when you're ready.
Hi, yeah, I'm Rita Jackal, the program coordinator for Orange County 4-H. And thank you for the chance to speak with you today. I just want to reiterate how important the Orange County Fair is to showcasing 4-H youth accomplishments at the culmination of their different projects like culinary arts, home arts, photography, and of course, livestock, and how grateful we've always been to have this opportunity for the youth. The absence of the fair last year and missing this opportunity has had truly a negative impact on the well-being of Orange County youth. They lost an important outlet that was vital on so many levels: participation, competition, connection to others, and just plain old fun. and so much more. And now I'm starting to get sort of heartbreaking communications about how it's been affecting families. Our youth need your commitment to offering them this opportunity again. I know maybe it won't look the same as it has in the past, but please consider any way that you can support the youth in Orange County who are trying their best to be resilient, but are fighting very serious consequences of the disenfranchisement due to isolation and some other negative impacts of being locked down. Please consider the long-term effects on our youth if we continue to eliminate these essential opportunities. I'm excited that you're considering it in any way you can, and I'd love to hear, the continuing discussions and hear more about the great plans and things that would include them. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Rita. Carla Montgomery, when you're ready.
Yes, hi. Thank you for letting me speak. There's a couple things I did want to talk about. I had to get off the phone here and I just got back on. And I'm hearing that they were talking about mandatory vaccines. Well, as a mother of a son who has autism, who I believe has been damaged by vaccines, it's very hard for me to understand that this would be safe for the general public, and especially for my son who's already injured by vaccines. So that is a subject that, of course, any mother would be opposed to, knowing that their child has already been injured. And I wouldn't want that to happen to other children or other people in our country, let alone the world. So, and then in regards to mandatory face masks, I am still not convinced 100% that the face mask is going to keep me 100% safe from this virus or any other virus that I know about, because I've seen the where you put the mask on and you blow cigarette smoke through it, and that's like bigger than the particles of the virus. So if the smoke comes out the mask, then I'm sure the virus can come in. So I really believe that we need to focus on what will keep us safe instead of focusing on what won't keep us safe. We would be better served that way. We really need to find out what really 100% does work, especially for those that are, like my son, compromised by these things. So the other thing I did want to mention about the equality versus diversity in our city. I know diversity is very important to our city currently, and I'm not opposed to that at all. I think diversity is very good. But I also want to do diversity along with unity. That I think unity and diversity need to actually hold hands and in regards to how we go forward as a city, so that we can include all members of our city, making sure that we are unified, but yet still diversified as we really are. So I think we shouldn't have a preference, just like parents don't have a preference over one child or the other. I think that they are unified in their love for their children that are very different. So I'm hoping that our city would start thinking about these things. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carla. Cindy Massaro, followed by Todd Martin, and then Kelly Avakian. Cindy, when you're ready. Yeah, go ahead, Cindy.
And I really, okay, it's breaking up a little bit. I hope you can hear me. Please interrupt me if I'm breaking up.
We can hear you now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the discussion on all of this, and I agree with Director Cervantes in my concern regarding the mandatory vaccinations, and with the speaker directly in front of me. I would encourage you all to move very carefully in this area, and please don't jump on a mandatory vaccination bandwagon. This is still an experimental program. It's a 2-year study, and we all keep emphasizing that we want inclusion at the OC Fair and the fairgrounds. mandatory vaccinations and face masks will force people with disabilities, like the speaker before me, her son, and any medical conditions of people that cannot take vaccinations or cannot wear face masks. For example, people with hearing impairments cannot wear face masks, or people simply who do not choose to enter into this experimental vaccination program, they will be excluded from your fair, which is exactly the opposite of what we're all talking about, which is making sure that people are included. So the idea of people with disabilities not being able to be included is just a terrible, terrible outcome to this. And
Cindy, I think we may have lost you.
do you know what?
Thank you, Cindy, for your comments. Unfortunately, it seems as though your audio has gone out. Summer, can we go ahead and move on to that?
I'm back now. I'm sorry. Where did I go out?
We've got 1 minute left.
I'm what I don't know where and what I was talking about, what you heard. Let me just say in summary that anyone that has disabilities or medical conditions or chooses not to enter an experimental vaccination program and wearing face masks to be excluded from the fairgrounds by such a generalized medical approach to admission would be catastrophic in the idea of including people from all backgrounds, especially those with disabilities that would be able to come in and enjoy and celebrate all of the wonderful programs you have there. So I'm encouraging you strongly, please do not consider requiring mandatory vaccinations and mandatory face masks for everyone that comes in. For those that choose to do that, that is fantastic. But there are a large, significant part of our population that cannot and choose not to participate in those things and in that experimental vaccination program. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Todd Martin, when you're ready.
Hello, can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I could almost echo exactly what was said by the previous two speakers. That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, my wife and I have lived in Costa Mesa. Well, I've been here my whole life. She's been here for, gosh, like 20 plus years. And we've been regular attendees at the fair, really like it there, enjoy the exhibits quite a bit. And if vaccinations are made mandatory, we will be excluded because I have only heard that the vaccination lessens the effects of COVID, but doesn't guarantee that you can't get it still. So it's, in my opinion, useless. And on top of that, my wife and I have determined we don't want to be a guinea pig because it is experimental. They have not had long-term studies done on this, obviously. And if you make this a requirement, then there's going to be many, and my wife and I would say most of our friends have determined not to take the vaccine who would like to be able to go to the fair. So it's exclusive on its face. You know, I agree with what Carla said about the masks. I don't see them being as effective as some people claim them to be, but that's not a deal killer for me. But the vaccines, absolutely. I will not be going to the fair if I'm required to take a vaccine because my health and my future are more important to me than that. But I would like to go. I really would. So anyways, please take that into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. Kelly Avakian, when you're ready.
Hi, thank you. I was going to jump off the call, but then I heard you guys talking about the mandatory vaccine. Here's my concern, straight from the CDC, that can pregnant or breastfeeding women get the vaccine? And right now there's no research on the safety of the vaccine in pregnant or breastfeeding women. So they're not necessarily recommending it because they don't no long-term effects of the vaccine. So that would exclude all pregnant women from coming to the fair. Also, it's not recommended for children under the age of 16. So several companies have begun to try and do some clinical trials, but that those may not even be done this year or next year. So that would also exclude anyone under the age of 16 from coming to the fair. And especially since, you know, we want kids, we want everybody to come, especially the kids, because we take all of our kids there. Also, what does that say for the rest of us that have all had COVID and have the antibodies? And even Merck, MERCK, pharmaceutical company, has stopped all of their trials now, realizing that the natural antibodies actually work so much better for immunity than the COVID vaccine. So where does that leave everyone with antibodies? And it's like a waste of time to have to keep taking COVID tests to enter. Like, we have to fly to Utah to do sports. So we're taking COVID tests every week. And when we get there to play sports, since we can't play here. So, I mean, there should be a lot of variances and a lot of, sure, someone can show you a vaccine card, but can they show you an antibodies card? Are they under the age of 16 and they can't have the shot? So there's a lot of considerations for making the vaccine mandatory that should be considered, because then you're excluding all kids. So then kind of what's the point of having the rides? I do agree with having local restaurants, though, perhaps this year, a few of the food trucks that we have at the fair, but having local restaurants, you know, have all of their food out there, or some sort of drive-through fair food, but local restaurants. I think that'd be a fantastic idea, because then we can even see what other restaurants are out there and get exposure to our Orange County restaurants specifically. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. We've got one more. Toya Fitzgerald, when you're ready.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much again. I know I've been on previously, and I just want to say thank you so much for all of your time, because I know this has got to be a hard job. And so I just also wanted to speak regarding the vaccinations, the mandatory vaccinations, and having so many friends, so many doctor friends who have said that it's just too experimental right now. I think that it would be one thing if it weren't still in the experimental phase, but I would also caution against making it mandatory. I'm still not totally sure I will get the vaccine. I'm still researching it, but I think that you would be excluding a lot of people from the fair. And so I would just like to request that you would really reconsider making any vaccination like that that's so experimental mandatory. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chair Rubalcaba Garcia, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you, Summer. Michelle, and I'll take feedback from the rest of the board, but it might be good for the February meeting to come back with, you know, maybe the board should really look and discuss whether or not we do move forward with planning the July or summer fair, or just go forward with focusing on fall. And I think that might be one of the primary issues to look at this point. You know, definitely the concerns that were expressed by the public are top of mind, but those issues might be resolved by the state at some point, and it's probably not something that we really need to be focused on at this time. Any comment on that from the board?
This is Sandra. I agree with you.
Perfect. You know, just I think it might be a good way to save time and not to expend resources if July is not a possibility. Sorry, Ashley, I saw that you were unmuting.
No, I was just going to agree with your comments. I mean, I think that if we are going to have, well, we're going to have to defer to whatever the state health officials that are medical officials and professionally trained to give us guidance on this.
Thank you. Director LaBelle.
This is Doug. I concur as well, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Michelle, any questions on that?
No, we'll get that on the agenda for discussion, and you know, in a month's time, we may have more information too. Remember that that Plan A was only going to move forward if things are trending in the right direction by April. But if the board feels that it's more prudent to skip Plan A and go straight to Plan B, we can discuss that at the February meeting. And then just to reiterate, Natalie, your comment about, you know, the OC Fair and Events Center is state property. And so whatever the requirements are at the state level is what we will follow regarding vaccines or masks. It currently is mandatory to wear masks on state property. So how that's going to you know, roll out by the summer or what might change, we will always follow state directives as we are state property.
Perfect. Thank you. Any further comment from the board before we move on to the next agenda item? Hearing that there are none, I'm going to go ahead. So we have agenda item 11, which is taking the board into closed session, but I just wanted to table that item to a later time. We've had a few board members who had to leave the meeting, and I really want to make sure that this is the closed session is fully attended. So we will be noticing a separate meeting for this agenda item. Any questions on that from the board?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Director Cervantes. Moving on to agenda item 12, which Board of Directors matter of information. Director Cervantes, anything to share?
I'm just wishing everybody a great end of the month and great February. A great, hopefully, Valentine's Day for everybody.
Thank you. Director Aiken?
Nothing to share, just stay safe, everybody, and look forward to our meeting next month.
Thank you. Director LaBelle?
Just a quick comment. Most of the board members know my grandson, Matthew, who has kind of grown up over the last 10 years at the fair. I just wanted to indicate that he's now a senior at Corona Del Mar High School, plays baseball, and he is committed to Long Beach State to play baseball there, and he'll become a dirtbag, which is their nickname. So I want to congratulate my son, Matthew, for all of his efforts over the years. That's all I have.
Congratulations, Doug. That's great news. The only item I have is Girl Scout cookie season has begun. So make sure it's definitely a different kind of year for the Girl Scouts. So please make sure that you support the organization if you can. They are not able to do as many storefront sales this year, but it does promote leadership among young girls. And it is a great organization to support. So just wanted to mention that. And I know Ashley is a Girl Scout troop leader for multiple levels. So she's a superstar leading on that front. I also just wanted to thank staff for all of the support that you provide the board and for organizing this meeting, and the board members for all of their work that they are doing on the committees. I know that this is all volunteer work for you, and I do appreciate all of the time and energy that you are spending on this front. And also to members of the public, thank you for attending this meeting and sharing your comments with us. With that, I would like to, I'll mention the next board meeting is February 25th. And now this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.